So, Greg, I mean, I'm not sure if I need to tell you this, but some of your shirts are kind of crappy. I mean, you know,
What do you mean by crappy? They got a sweet little pocket right here.
I mean, they
That's
could be better. I mean, there's a place I know where it has lots of cool stuff. Uh,
yeah, but how cool?
we're talking about AAA cool. We're talking about shirts from 86.com. They're a pretty cool site. They sell all types of merchandise, including t-shirts, keychains, and other cool stuff that they sell on their site. And also have awesome video game material as well, such as Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, Guilty Gear, Skullgirls, Blaze Blue, Smite, and 86's own brand of t-shirts as well as other stuff. Recently they put out some new keychain for Street Fighter 5. So yeah, there's some awesome stuff there. So I'm just suggesting, next time you go out and buy a shirt of any kind, I suggest check out 86.com. And if you want to support us and them at the same time, please use this link in your web browser to check out 86.com. Put in www.86.com !AFF equals 4. Again, www.86.com !AFF equals 4. This link will tell them that we sent you and that we're cool with them as long as you're cool with us. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Other guys, how am I losing to this friggin' monster? He wants to build giant brick walls, he discriminates against Italian immigrants, and he's got fake hair. Turtles don't grow hair. Also, his kids are a bunch of goony-looking idiots posting on their dad's name.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that recently got on Harley Quinn brand lithium. We feel so good. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
Casey.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard before the show is by Machine Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard is by Dorkly. It is the Mushroom Kingdom election. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel of Dorkly. As you can hear, we've got Casey with us for another show. We're going to see how this works on a longer-term basis, but for right now, it's a trial. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You up on that Harley Quinn lithium we were sponsored by earlier, or what?
I think you've actually got all of the lithium. I love your energy level.
It's been a long day, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Jesse, what were you going to say?
Where's the lithium? I'm a bit depressed right now.
Well, I have that effect on people, but no, I got an invite out to Strategicon to check it out. It is a Los Angeles-based convention all about RPG, tabletop games, miniature games, things like that. If it's a game and it doesn't require a monitor, they play it.
Sounds fun.
It's not quite my wheelhouse because I am very much into RPGs, but tabletop games not tabletop. Board games have never really been my dig. Miniature games, I do not have the patience for it, nor do I have the money to collect these silly things.
No.
The LARPing sessions would have been interesting, but I was just kind of walking around looking at everything. And the one guy who's been on me for about the last 2 years to come out and check this out, turns out he had an ulterior motive. So as he's talking to me, he just said, I actually want you to do something for us. It's like, yeah, what's that? He says, we've been talking about setting up a podcast. And you have a podcast. Oh, okay, I didn't know if this was going any deeper. So apparently he would like to introduce me to the higher up so I can help them set up a podcast they do like at each convention. I don't know if that means hosting, but they just want help with structure and equipment.
Oh.
So they may want me to host. I have no idea what they've heard so far.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. All they said is they're aware of me. For all I know, that means they found some kind of outstanding warrant. But after that, I walked over to Gallifrey One, which was 2 doors over, just to see if I could meet up with a couple people I was looking for. By coincidence, they were all out front of the building when I walked up. And it was fun talking to them, but at the same time, I'm getting ready to tell them I got to go back home so I could do a recording. They interrupt me and say, so, we need to get you inside. You need a badge? It's like, you guys are so sweet. The convention sells out in 90 minutes. I didn't expect a badge to be available for me to borrow. But it was a nice day where it was kind of slow. There wasn't a whole lot I had to run around and do, you know what I mean? I almost tried to walk in on a D&D session, but there was two people. One was dressed like a pirate, the other was a rather buxom lady in a gold dress, and I didn't quite know how to respond to any of that, so I left.
Good call.
Good response.
Yeah. What about you guys? What's going on?
Well, as I said before, I wasn't joking. I'm a bit down right now, but that's mostly because I've fallen out of love with a lot of shows I've been watching.
Okay, I didn't know if this was going to be another thing where it's just like I just talked to my mother and once again, and what shows are you talking about?
Flash. I kind of quit that after watching the first episode after the hiatus.
Okay, I can see that.
Getting really melodramatic. I'm not sure when I stopped watching The Blacklist, but I stopped watching it.
Okay. The odd thing is you and I live very different lives, but your TV viewing habits and mine are remarkably similar.
Really?
Yeah, I watch The Blacklist and Flash, and I'm falling out of love with The Flash myself because I'm tired of the most dangerous villain in their universe being Barry Allen.
Yeah.
And it seems like the structure of the show is about the same. There's a villain, but the villain isn't the problem. The problem is X's lack of self-confidence and the need of Y and Z to prop up that self-confidence.
They're getting their formula down.
Yeah. I think it also comes... sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, when MacGyver first came out, I tried to watch it. I tried.
Oh, you are a brave man.
I tried. I wanted to watch. But it just no.
I watched an episode and a half before I gave up on that one.
I actually gave up on the first one. It's like,
Casey, you got a comment about the Flash?
Well, I mean, a lot of the Flash storylines actually do have their roots in the comics, and I mean, Flashpoint was all about Barry and what he screwed up on. Crisis of Infinite Earths was kind of rooted in Barry, but at least he had the stones to fix it himself. Barry's got a lot on his plate, and when he does his stuff, unfortunately, there's some collateral damage.
It's often collateral damage, though, and it's not even the superpowers half the time that screw everything up. It's just Barry himself. Well, if there is anybody that ever needs a therapist, it's most of the characters on these CW/DC shows.
Well, good intentions and all that stuff.
Yeah, I saw how much it did for Heisenberg.
Yeah. Poor Heisenberg.
The subject of this week is a conversation on an idea we have for a Man of Steel sequel. We'll get to that after we get through the news of the week. And first up is Marvel Media News. That's where we talk about Marvel properties that are headed to all sorts of multimedia, including TV, movies, internet, and most other types of books and productions, with the exception of the comic book page. And I'll let Casey read the first story, because the first one I had didn't pan out as well as I'd hoped.
Oh, okay. Well, first thing we got coming up here is a first look at ABC Freeform's Cloak and Dagger show coming up here in the 2017-18 shooting schedule. Aubrey Omari, I believe is her name. Or is it Aubrey Joseph? Okay, I'm reading her Twitter name, but it's Aubrey Joseph, who's going to be playing Dagger, has taken a first shot of the two co-stars together. Looking into the background of these two, it looks like the guy playing Cloak, a fellow named Aubrey Joseph, comes from small stuff, CSI, maybe a Liam Neeson movie I've never heard of. And Olivia Holt is pure Disney magic. That's the wonderland that she has come from. So I was talking to Jeremy a little bit about this either. That probably is the reason why she's showing up on the family-friendly Freeform show. So I know that this particular show is geared towards the young adult audience, and I'm kind of trying to see where that's going to go, if it's going to take their audience seriously, because you can completely drop the ball on something like this, or you can do something miraculous, like how Harry Potter was structured. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping this really works out.
Yeah, I sent you guys a link to Aubrey Joseph's Instagram. The first couple images are her and her co-star in the Cloak and Dagger show. It's not much other than these are the two stars of the show. You're not going to see much of a way of production as of yet.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say how well they'll represent the show because, after all, we're just talking, this is the black man and white girl who are going to play the black man and white girl. That's all we know. But there were some additions to the cast of Cloak and Dagger that were announced. The people playing Cloak's parents of Michael and Adina Johnson will be Miles Masenden and Gloria Rubin from Bloodline and ER, respectively. These are different from the comic book version of Cloak's parents, Otis Johnson and an unnamed Mrs. Johnson. An actor from Rescue Me, Andrea Roth, has been cast as Melissa Bowen, the mother of Dagger. And Roth's character is going to be more motherly than the comic book counterpart. An actor from Grey's Anatomy, Carl Lundhelt, will play a salt-of-the-earth townie named Liam, who is dating Dagger when the show begins. James Saito will play a mentor to Ty Johnson, a.k.a. Cloak in the show, named Bernard Sanjo. And True Detective's J.D. Evermore is going to round out this casting announcement. He's playing Detective Connors, a contradiction of a man that is overcompensating for a secret he has. A detective overcompensating for a secret, isn't that usually alcoholism?
Yes. Sorry. I jumped on that one too quickly.
There is no notable comic book character that has the name of Detective Connors, but an NYPD detective named Connor Trevane was introduced in Howard Mackey's Spider-Man. So that's about as close as we get to any sort of comic book counterpart there. There is somebody who apparently is being worked over for the role of Domino in the upcoming Deadpool sequel.
Who?
It's an interesting choice. Kerry Washington from Scandal.
Yeah.
According to that hashtag show, they cited unknown sources stating that Washington has emerged as the front runner in the casting process right now. Let me see. Kerry Washington's been on Scandal since it began. She does have a little bit of comic book cred, though. She appeared in 2 movies as Alicia Masters for Fox's Fantastic Four films.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about Kerry Washington's acting pedigree. I can't recall watching a whole lot of her projects. And granted, whatever race she is going to be immaterial considering Domino's pretty much an albino as it is. So, I wish I could get more excited for that, but it's pretty much just a statement of fact at this point. And Fox really doesn't seem to have much confidence in their own X-Men properties at this point. According to a story on IO9, 20th Century Fox was still murky on the idea of Logan even after the $780 million Deadpool made them.
Really?
Yeah, Fox chairman Stacy Snyder at a media conference on Tuesday said, quote, "Inside there was real consternation about the intensity of the tone of the film. It's more an elegy about life and death. The paradigm for it is a Western, and my colleagues were up in arms. It's not a wisecracking, cigar-chomping, mutton-sporting Wolverine, and the debate internally became, isn't that freaking boring? Isn't it exciting to imagine Wolverine as a real guy and he's world-weary and he doesn't want to fight anymore until a little girl needs him?" Unquote. And given what I've seen from the promos and the trailers, I think they nailed it. I don't know what they're so freaking upset about.
Everybody gets cold feet when they're talking about money, and when you're talking about comic books, I mean, 16, 17 years later after X-Men has come out, they're still wondering, oh God, are we gonna shit the bed on this one?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they've already done 2 movies, 2 movies starring Wolverine where he has been the mutton chop wearing cigar chomping a-hole they've been talking about, and the best you can say about those movies is, they made their money. And this new thing has come out and it's completely broken the mold, and it's not just critics that are excited for once. Fans are actually looking at this going, this might actually be good.
I was surprised you made actual characters this time.
Okay, say what you want. I enjoyed the first 2 acts of the Wolverine. I thought, okay, this is going to be awesome. You lost me a little bit when the big robot showed up, but the first 2 acts they nailed it. And they nailed it for was it a PG-13 movie? It was probably PG-13.
It was PG-13.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I mean, if we could just have rewritten a third act, the Wolverine would have been fucking awesome.
I don't know. It probably would have enhanced my opinion of it a bit if Shiro Yoshida showed up, but that's a fanboy in me speaking.
He kind of showed up in the guise of the big robot that we all hate.
No, the Silver Samurai kind of showed up in the big robot we all hate. Sunfire didn't show dick.
Oh, God, I got the two of them mixed up. I am such a bad fan.
You're thinking of Hamada.
Hamada, yes, in fact. Yeah. Oh, well, by the way, while we're also talking about Logan, the director, Mangold, I believe, was interviewed by a website called We Got This Covered. Mangold was asked if he'd be interested in tackling any other comic book-related properties. Aside from Logan, The Wolverine is the director's only other film based on comic book heroes. And in his response, Mangold said, and I quote, I think Daphne Keene is incredible in the film, and I would love to see another film about that character. And it's certainly something I'd be involved in. For me, that was one of the big additions that I brought to the table. This decision to try to make the film about family and to try to insert lore, and the pressures of what that would put, and the idea of Charles Ailing. Now, granted, this was just a throwaway comment made at the end of an interview, and that doesn't mean that Fox is going to jump right into this, but that is something they've got. Right now, X-23 is a great property. She's actually got her own comic book as the all-new Wolverine, and it's probably one of the best comics that's come out in the past couple of years.
I'd like to say that Fox should keep the door open to the idea of an X-23 sequel to this. The only problem is there's already so many reports that have come out that after this film, Fox is considering rebooting the entire universe again.
Yeah, I heard that.
There's part of me that would like to see that just because they've had a couple missteps in this latest reiteration of the X-Men universe. But a recent report, or a recent statement, I should say, by Sophie Turner, she played Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. The indication is that Fox is not done with this leg of the X-Men universe. She has said that she recently started working on X-Men Supernova.
Supernova?
I know.
That is the one that they also gave the subtitle of Dark Phoenix?
No, they haven't given it any subtitle. The X-Men Supernova is the subtitle. Now, whether or not that's a placeholder name is unknown at this point, because this is the first time anyone has actually talked about another X-Men film. What Turner said at the BAFTAs recently was, quote, we're about to start shooting the next X-Men. We've just finished shooting Season 7 of Game of Thrones, and I've got a couple movies to do before X-Men starts, and then we go on to Season 8, so I've got a busy year lined up, unquote. So if they're continuing with this line of the X-Men, great. They really need to learn how to stretch out these stories into more than one film, though. I think that's what's killing them. They've had really good casting in the last couple X-Men movies, but they have tried to jam so much nonsense into 2 hours it's deafening.
I for one am not done with X-Men. I mean, as much as of course the fanboy in me really wants the X-Men just to flee the coop, go to Marvel, and flourish there. I get a little scared because that means they've got way too many things going on over at Marvel, and then they have to start picking and choosing which ones they're going to keep.
They don't know how to manage themselves right now.
No, and they do, but I mean, they have a lot of things going on.
They don't, though, because this is not a Marvel problem. This is a Fox problem.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I'm
you said you were worried that Marvel
had
too many projects.
Well, what I was trying to say is if I as a fanboy, I would love for it to go back to Marvel, but right now it's at Fox. And I like what Fox has done with a lot of it. Not all of it, with a lot of it. And I'm totally cool to see where it goes, but, I mean, yeah, they really need to fine-tune exactly what their continuity is going to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody here besides me cosplay at all? Okay, I'll take that rousing endorsement as no. But lately...
Damn it, I'm muted.
Disney has gone all in, it seems like, on a new line of authentic cosplay gear. Not too long ago, they released Captain America's shield and Iron Man's helmet that you could buy, and they're full-size replicas for $99 a piece. Which, if you're a cosplayer, that's pretty goddamn cheap. Well, Marvel's expanding the line a little bit more. They are now releasing a full-size version of Star-Lord's helmet from the Guardians of the Galaxy film, and a 1-to-1 scale Mjolnir. The Mjolnir, and I'll send you guys a link, is really going to get people's attention because not only does it light up, but when it lights up, an heretofore invisible rune in the center of it shows up.
That's cool.
Nice. All right.
There is no words on pricing, but if it holds true to the rest of their line, these replicas will also be somewhere to the tune of about $100. They'll be on pre-order at Amazon.com starting today for $100 each. The only problem is, though, even though you pre-order them, they won't be coming out until fall. Which means those of you that are hoping to get a really authentic Thor cosplay in time for San Diego Comic-Con, you out of luck, son.
Might be on display over there.
It might be, but something tells me that if you're going to buy this, you're going to be well aware of it way before Comic-Con.
And speaking of summer shenanigans, Disney's California Adventure theme park is going to be launching something they're calling the Summer of Heroes. First thing out of the gate on this one.
First thing you got to do is as soon as you get past the ticket taker, you got to save the cheerleader, then you save the park.
That's not the way this works.
Oh, God damn it.
The celebration kicks off at May 27th with the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. This ride is actually going to replace an old ride called Tower of Terror.
Really?
And, yeah.
Yeah, you guys should have gone to the New Year's thing I invited you to. They had already put up scaffolding outside that ride by January 1st.
Yeah, well, money was an issue, so... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they killed the ride fully on January 8th.
Oh, that's sad. Well, a number of year-round Marvel-themed attractions are going to be happening at the same time. The details they've given us are the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Dance-Off! Do not be surprised if you run into the Guardians of the Galaxy on their way to Milano. I don't know what Milano is. With Star-Lord firing up his old-school boombox to get the party started. Gamora may prefer to stand back and observe while everybody else is bound to get into the groove and show off their moves during the awesome rock and roll bash. And when I hear this, I can only think back to the Stormtroopers and Darth Vader doing the Can't Touch This, which I love. Come on, Vader.
I'm more worried about the dwarf in the Rocket Raccoon costume doing the Cabbage Patch.
Oh, Lord. You've got stuff other than this happening. We've also got the Avengers Training Initiative. Black Widow and Hawkeye assembling young recruits for a series of tests to see if they have what it takes to join the ranks of the Avengers. We've got Heroic Encounter Black Widow. Black Widow will arrive on the scene several times throughout the day in an armored Avengers vehicle for their heroic encounter with park guests. And grab a piece, quote, or bite of the action. All the heroism that makes you hungry? Want to take a token of proof of your adventures when you get home? Special themed merchandise and food will be available throughout the Hollywood land. And...
See, I wasn't planning on going to Disneyland or California Adventure this year, but I might stop by the park this summer if this is the kind of stuff happening. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like everything's going to start off in May 27th, and of course, we would need to drop the line that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is due out in theaters May 5th.
Yeah, they're trying to do something similar in regards to the live-action Beauty and the Beast film over at the Disneyland Park. They're replacing a couple of the attractions out in Fantasyland with Beauty and the Beast-themed items, including one of the eateries.
I have yet to set foot in any Disney things. My mother promised me when I was 8 years old that she would take me to Disneyland, and I'm still waiting.
You're still waiting on that promise from your mother, and you have a job?
Shut up.
Now is DC Media News. It's where we talk about the other major publisher and their multimedia properties that are coming to you now and in the future. Just when it seems like Warner Brothers is starting to get a handle on the DC cinematic, things are kind of spinning out of control. Over the past week, there have been reports that the director from War of the Planet of the Apes, Matt Reed, had gone into extended negotiations to take over the Batman. He'd even said to a news outlet that he had an offer by Warner Brothers in hand. So it sounded like things were finally going to get somewhat back on track for this leg of DC Cinematic Universe. Uh-huh. As of this past Friday, Matt Reeves has dropped out of those negotiations.
Oh, jeez.
Something significant has happened, so that means that, again, joining The Flash, the Batman has no director attached to it at this point. which
Sounds like
it
differences.
Well, that's the thing. He didn't even get to the point where he's allowed to say creative differences. Now all he can say is, I stopped talking to them.
Oh.
So I can't imagine what would have happened in the matter of contract negotiations that would have ended things. Unless, then, of course, they tried to do the same thing to Reeves that they did to Ben Affleck. Look, you signed this contract, you can't do anything but DC stuff for the next 18 months.
Yeah, I would stop talking too.
Yeah, and...
I'm not going to put my life on hold for you guys.
Speaking of our good friend Mr. Affleck, we're hearing reports now that Affleck, quote, doesn't want to be Batman anymore. Citing three sources connect to what's going on at Warner Brothers, quote-unquote, Collider Movie Talk showrunner and host John Campea say that Affleck is in talks with the studios to completely quit the project. Quote, Ben Affleck, make no mistake, he wants out. He doesn't want to be Batman anymore, unquote.
He would be the first person in the history of this planet who is offered to be Batman and said no.
Well, as a first-timer, yes, although Michael Keaton did say no to Batman Forever.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, sometimes you can just smell the stink.
Yeah.
Well, this is
until
a whole
until I actually hear straight up from him, I would take that with a grain of salt.
Yes, because Campea says that while he has a poor track record with industry rumors such as this, he reiterated that he spoke to 3 independent sources for the information.
I would lend some credence to it since this story came initially from Collider, though. Collider is usually pretty reliable. So, given what we've heard so far about Ben Affleck's decreasing role within Warner Brothers, I'd say it's highly feasible at this point.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if this is actually the real deal. It's heartbreaking because I really think that an Affleck-directed, Affleck-written, and Affleck-starred Batman movie would be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it would have been.
Because, I mean, Affleck's Batman was the shining star of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, he had the second most badass moves in the film. You know, Gal Gadot was a scene stealer in the third act there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only really had a couple of things to do, Gal. Go for it.
Yeah, but that Arkham Knight segment that Affleck had just before that was pretty awesome in its own right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few new pieces of DC media that are being released ahead of the films. I'll send you guys a link so you can look it over. They've got some interesting statues upcoming. This Aquaman action figure that's at the top of the story on Newsarama, it looks a lot like him, but I'm still worried about the muted palette they're giving his armor there. It's frighteningly monochromatic in most points. The statue of Ben Affleck in his Batman armor, that's not bad. That is actually going to measure 12 inches tall. It's the first of a line of statues based on the Justice League. Let's see. There's another statue here that's interesting. You can get a Batman animated series Batcave vignette. It measures 15.5 inches tall, 17 inches wide, 21 inches deep. That's big enough for a chihuahua to sleep in.
That's pretty nice.
You can also there are also some new additions to the Batman Bombshells lines. They're 6.75-inch figures for Supergirl, Batgirl, Mara, Katana, Hawkgirl, and Bumblebee, as well as 2 new statues, a Starfire firefighter and a second Harley Quinn bombshell, both at 12 inches tall.
Bumblebee, what an interesting choice. I mean, the only reason I could think they would even try to do something like that is to push the Titans brand.
You know, I took a look at those figures. I don't have a link to the images, and Bumblebee was the one that kind of disturbed me in the Bombshells line, because whereas most of them are very active-style characters, you know, Batwoman, the baseball player, Supergirl in her, 1920s-style armor outfit, Harley Quinn as the pseudo-soldier, Bumblebee's a cheerleader.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being a cheerleader, but I understand what you're talking about, being a separation of theme.
Yeah, and I also understand that the Bombshells are based on, like, 1920s and 1940s, like bomber mascot girls that are painted on the side. But when you're going to go through the trouble of actually inserting a woman of color of any sort into this, and she just happens to be the one cheerleader in the line, it's a little bit of a standout. They do have one more here that's a pair of bookends that I'm finding a little bit disturbing.
What's that?
Well,
That
it
would
is
be the Joker and Harley one, would they?
Yeah, it would. The Joker and Harley Quinn bookends there. It looks like two different eras for sure, but the Joker and Harley Quinn, they look a little too Looney Tunes for me.
Yeah, it looks like they used two completely different themes for that.
They did. You notice the Batman tied up behind him seems to be in two different costumes?
Oh, God. Of course, the
towels
picture
appear
goes
to be
away.
very different.
The picture went away right as, of course, we're talking about it.
And I might be insane, but I think Batman's wearing Converse.
Oh, God. Now I have to see this.
You're muted.
Actually, I think all three characters are wearing Converse in this image.
I could see Harley Quinn wearing Converse.
Yeah. The Joker looks dapper, I guess would be the word for what I'm staring at. But Batman, either that's two different versions of that costume he's wearing, or he is really eyeballing the Joker out of his one good eye there. I don't quite know what to make of that. There's been talk at Warner Brothers for a second Suicide Squad film, a sequel. And I guess David Ayer is a little too busy, or maybe he's working a little too hard on this Gotham City Sirens movie, right? So they've been looking for a director to helm a Suicide Squad film sequel. Who is the one director you probably wouldn't want to hire if you want to get people into the theaters to see a sequel to a movie that critically bombed out?
Well,
Director?
it might be.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I think we're going about that the wrong way, because our
Shyamalan?
boy, the guy you're
No.
referring to, that you have not revealed yet,
No.
has been doing quite well for himself in the past couple of years. In fact, has an Oscar nod.
True, but he is also Hollywood's most notorious anti-Semite at this moment.
I guess it's no mystery that we're talking about our good friend Riggs. No, I'm sorry. Mel
Riggs. Yeah. Warner Brothers is in talks with, and Mel Gibson himself has confirmed that he's been contacted to do the sequel to Suicide Squad.
Which is an interesting thing, because I actually heard about 5-6 months ago that Robert Downey Jr., our good friend Tony Stark, has actually been trying to get Mel Gibson involved. Their friendship having spanned all the way back to, I knew this one, the movie that they did about running CIA missions in Cambodia, and the title escapes me.
Not Operation Dumbo Drop or something?
No. Oh,
That was the other actor in Lethal Weapon.
Well, the thing that gets me, though, is that Downey has had very public issues, and he's owned those issues at the very least. You know, Downey's been very honest about he had some bad times in his life that he's managed to overcome. When people talk to Mel Gibson about the weird statements he made one dark night on the Pacific Coast Highway, a lot of it has to do with medication, or he was angry, and it wasn't really what he meant to say, which is usually code for, I was drunk and that's everything that's on my mind.
Air America. I am redeemed.
So, as he waited 5 minutes to pull that directly out of his ass, this is not the way to go. Although I will say, if people voted for Donald Trump, they're very likely to go see this film at this point.
Yeah, I also was digging up something else here. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. publicly asked for forgiveness for Mel Gibson back in 2011 during an awards ceremony in Los Angeles that pays tribute to Mel.
Yeah, that's sweet of him. It's nice that he's sticking out for a friend, but nah, I ain't ready.
He'll always be Martin Riggs to me.
He can't be Martin Riggs to me. He ruined those films now. You know, every time he gets into a gunfight, all I can think is, he just thinks he's in Israel now.
Oh, poor Mel. He's had a rough time.
Well, somebody that's not having a rough time is Lucifer. It's been announced this week that Fox's Lucifer has been renewed for a third season, begin late this year. This is the same Lucifer that's based on the DC Vertigo title of the same name. The most recent episode has actually managed to maintain its rating at 6.2 million viewers.
Really?
Yeah. Lucifer is actually one of these titles that had begun to really escape me. The first episode of Lucifer is perfection. You just have him just wicked enough to be super awesome, especially the scene where he terrorizes the young girl bully in the hallway by showcasing his real eyes. I was like, oh, okay, that's Lucifer. This is going to be awesome. But he just kind of became a one-note kind of trick for a while. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of getting irritated with this. I say this at the same time I've got my Hulu opened up and I'm watching the episode Quid Pro Quo with Lucifer. But so I'm clearly still involved. But
in the second season, the character has changed quite a bit. Things have actually progressed a bit. And 6.2 million viewers in the modern age of TV is nothing to sneeze at. That's actually pretty good ratings for a cable show. And it is also noted that at this early in February, only 3 shows have been renewed by Fox at this point. Lucifer, Empire, and The Simpsons. So that is a pretty big statement in Fox's confidence in the show right now.
Well, Simpsons is never going to die, apparently.
Nah, no.
Oh, it will. As soon as they piss off Harry, sure enough, he takes a third of this cast with him. Which came awfully, awfully close.
God, Yeardley Smith has been doing Lisa Simpson for, 25, 28 years? 27 years?
Yeah, as much as there is that, and there's also the fact that after Herman's Head was canceled, she really didn't have much else to do.
I only remember her as the 20-year-old cashier that slept with Billy Crystal's friend in City Slickers 1. I'm 20.
A lot of us were 20 when that movie came out. Move on.
Skipping from Lucifer, we're going into the video game aspect of things. The makers of Injustice 2, which I believe is... I'm dropping a ball on this one.
That was the company that they bought out. They made Mortal Kombat. It was like... It used to be Midway, now it's Warner Interactive. Netherworld, very good.
Netherworld, thank you. Okay, so they released information that Swamp Thing will now be a playable character in the upcoming Injustice 2, the sequel to the Injustice Gods Among Us from 2013.
I think gameplay of him, he's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I just got wind of what the gameplay looked like this afternoon before this, and he's a bit of a flexible character. In the gameplay that they showcased over in IGN, he was faced off against the Red Lantern Atrocitus, which, that's my boy. Red Lanterns all the way. I'm more interested in that.
You want to see the YouTube video that was released in the story?
Let's see it.
Sure. There we go. I sent the video. Wow, Atrocitus is much more normal than I expected.
Yeah, that's not exactly the costume I would prefer, but hey, that's what they went with.
Not just the costume, the face, though. He doesn't have those bared teeth that make him look just like a walking demon nightmare.
Yeah, he's also not wearing a proper...
Oh, Netherrealm, not Netherworld.
Yeah. Okay, there's Swamp Thing. He came right out of the septic tank.
Mm-hmm. Facing off against, I'm assuming this is Damian Wayne?
Yep. That is Damian.
He said if I meet you, to kill you.
Did he just hit him with a wooden key? Did he just go Kingdom Hearts on his ass?
I think that was an axe.
Really?
Yeah.
I just loved the dialogue, and it's just immediately into the fight, and he's just owning his ass.
Yeah, well, I mean, the character is being showcased.
Oh, clone.
So he's going to be winning this entire fight.
Clones, damn.
If you look at there was a video released a couple weeks ago that showcased Damian Wayne himself, and Damian Wayne kicks all kinds of ass.
Still hate that character.
Well,
what is it with Wonder Woman? She looks like a Puerto Rican swimsuit club member.
Forgive her and her pants.
Oh wow! So we just pulled him directly into the ground.
Oh!
Right on the pointy rock. Oh, the wings were not a good thing on Swamp Thing, in my opinion.
When did this happen?
That's apparently something I'm not even aware of. That must be like some lore aspect of him I'm not aware of.
That's a post-Rebirth item.
Oh,
not Rebirth, sorry, post-New 52.
Oh, is he supposed to be some kind of angel?
He's connected directly to the world's natural sphere. They now call it the Green.
Oh, well, that aspect of the DC universe has been around for a while. I mean, we've also got the Red.
Yeah, but the Red was really fleshed out in the New 52. That was their new explanation for animal affinity in the DC universe.
Yeah, I think we had Black Orchid, Animal Man, and Vixen dealt with the red.
And Wildcat from Earth 2.
Ah.
But I get disturbed every time he starts talking about the green, because every time he does, I expect him to yank a power battery out of his ass and charge up a ring.
Well, we're not going to have to worry about good old school Earth 2 Green Lantern doing that crap.
No, he's going to be pulling something out of his husband's butt, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that was uncharacteristically bad.
It was right there.
Oh, low-hanging fruit, my friend. Low-hanging fruit.
That's usually how he gets to the butt to pull something out, but...
Oh, it's getting worse.
Stop adding fuel to the fire.
We'll move on to general media news. It's where we talk about nerdy properties that are not Marvel and DC related, but are still coming into the multimedia sphere in the near future. Jesse, how's Riverdale working for you?
I have not watched it since I watched the pilot at Comic-Con.
Okay. I had to ask because it was just announced this week that Archie TV has signed an exclusive deal with Warner Brothers. According to the press release, quote, Archie Comic Publications and Warner Brothers Television have signed an exclusive deal to develop new original programming and content based on Archie's vast catalog of characters and properties, as revealed earlier today by The Hollywood Reporter. Following years of daring and fan-favorite comic books, including The Death of Archie, Afterlife of Archie, and the blockbuster Archie relaunch by Mark Waid and Fiona Staples, the new production deal with Warner Brothers Television is the culmination of years of work by John Goldwater and the staff and freelancers of Archie Comics to bring the classic comic book characters forward into the present day. For years, people have been saying, wow, Archie's making movies. They're fearless. They're trying new things. This is what happened next, according to Archie CEO and publisher John Goldwater to The Hollywood Reporter, unquote. I would like to know who exactly has been talking for years about Archie making movies, because this is news to me.
It's probably the exact same crowd that's been buying Archie comics. I've been going to comic book stores for decades. I've never once seen somebody pick up an Archie book and walk out with it, yet they still sell shit tons of copies.
You know, you're awfully kind, because I was going to assume the people talking about making Archie making moves and making stuff for a year was probably Goldwater's assistant.
The one Archie fan, she's probably been buying thousands of copies to keep the line going.
I mean, if it works for him, great, but Riverdale was such a quintessential CW show, I didn't see a reason for me personally to watch it.
I'm sorry, I did watch it, so...
Well, the good and the bad. Let me admit this. I don't know a damn thing about the Riverdale series. I haven't watched it. I have no idea on it. Yeah,
that's all.
I've hated Archie books my entire life. However, the most recent Archie relaunch, the one that I think Mark Waid did, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they just said Mark Waid was the writer.
Is actually really good. It's surprisingly good. It's surprisingly not only good, but smart, thoughtful, and breaking new ground. I mean, just the idea that Jughead is an asexual, I don't think has ever been explored in a comic book before.
Well, that explains why he was always into hamburgers.
Yeah, he had no interest in people. He thought that the relationships were boring. And then that's the reason why he was always trying to tell Archie, listen, man, you're wasting your time.
See, I had always assumed that Jughead had gone into witness protection and joined Jenny Craig, because after all those years of promising to pay people for Tuesday for a hamburger, Wimpy just had to disappear. All right. See, it was a little bit of a road, but once you followed me, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, he's getting a little off. Oh, okay, there you went. Okay, I see what he's doing there. I personally have decided to rewatch Netflix's new series, Stranger Things. It really speaks to me. I think mainly because I was the same age as the main characters in that show. That dates me pretty hard.
Oh, I was going to assume somebody stuck you into a fish tank and made you open a door to an alternate dimension, but what do I know?
No, I was definitely a child of 1982, E.T. and all that stuff. But it looks like what's happening now is Netflix is getting into the comic book, toy, and collectibles business directly. As reported in Newsarama, Netflix isn't completely new to licensing, but has been a little slow to get into markets with its recent Stranger Things push. Quote, "We're pursuing customer products and associated promotion because we believe it'll drive a meaningful show awareness/buzz with the more tangible, curated ways to interact with our most popular content." Wow, that was some nice dollar words he was throwing there. The Netflix job posting goes, "We want licensing merchandise to help promote our titles so they became part of the zeitgeist for future periods of time."
AKA, buy my book! Buy my book!
Bloomberg itself cites confidential sources relaying that Netflix is also asking its production partners, which would include Marvel's various live-action shows, for a share of the revenue from consumer products made off the shows as they air.
You know, it's probably a smart move for them because Netflix's shows are becoming very well known in the circles of people who watch lots of media and TV. And they're highly unique shows, but there's almost no merchandising around them right now. I personally have watched Stranger Things. I enjoy the hell out of it. Sense8 was an amazing show that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. And just this week, I finished The Get Down.
I need to finish The Get Down. I really enjoyed it.
That was surprisingly entertaining, although I kind of knew in the first episode I was going to be sucked into it when one of the characters identifies himself as Shaolin Fantastic. You know, I heard that, I'm just like, that is the most jive name I've ever heard in my life. I have to see where this goes.
Second only
Bruce
to
Leroy?
Sho'nuff. The Shogun. Follow him.
Who is the master?
Sho'nuff.
Am I the meanest?
Sho'nuff.
Am I the prettiest?
Sho'nuff.
Am I the baddest mofo low down going around this town?
Sho'nuff.
What's my name?
Sho'nuff.
Yeah.
God, I hate it. And I am rolling my eyes right now. Wow.
Oh, I am so sad. Star Trek Discovery has added a few more members to its building cast. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Terry Serpico is
what
becoming,
a name.
I know, Terry Serpico. You might as well just give him a heavyweight belt and have him work for World Wrestling Entertainment. But he's going to be Admiral Anderson, a high-ranking Starfleet officer. We could have guessed that by the rank of Admiral. Thank you.
Yep.
Malik Pankoli, he's going to take on the role of Dr. Namboy, the Starship Shenzhou Chief Medical Officer. I had to do a double take because the Starship Shenzhou, and I'm like, oh my god, they made a starship based on the Sega game. No, wait. There's a different letter in there. And Sam, wow, that's a name. Sam Vartholomeus. Vartholomeus, that's his name. Sam Vartholomeus. He's going to be Ensign Connor, a low-ranking crew member of the Starship Shenzhou. I'm pretty sure they changed his name just because Sam Vartholomeus is a real mouthful to say. Ensign Connor, if his shirt is red, kiss him goodbye.
Oh, he's doomed. Oh, speaking of which, have you seen the uniforms?
I saw a couple of clips showing the material, but I have not seen the full uniforms through the shows of yet.
I haven't seen the full uniforms, but what I have seen looks really good.
Yeah, let's just hope they
actually... I was going to say it's a vast improvement over Archer's crew.
Okay, well, I'll hope they get around to actually making it. They've been talking about this show for 18 goddamn months.
Yeah, we should have actually already been watching the first few episodes.
Yeah. And the WGN show Scalped, based on the graphic novel, they've hired their first cast member, Lily Gladstone from Certain Women's. Gladstone is supposed to play Carol Redcrow, the daughter of the chief of the reservation where the crime story involved in the series takes place. Scalped is based on the DC and Vertigo title by Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra. It's a Western crime story set on Native American reservation. The cast will be a majority Native American, reportedly. If it's not, get ready for the counter-protests. No premiere date as of yet.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, we got other news going on. We got Kevin Smith news. No, it's not Quick 3. That thing got canceled. Is it Mallrats? No, that shit is also in hiatus. No,
it's not on hiatus. He can't find anybody to buy the TV show he's promoting yet.
Exactly. So what's he going to do in the meantime? He's going to
get high. He's going to get high. He's going to get high.
He's actually going to dip his feet into the glorious quality product that is Spawn. and used some second-tier characters for BBC America in a live-action show. Yep. Our good friend Kevin Smith is attached to write, direct, and executive produce a series based on Sam and Twitch, a comic book series. The BBC America president, general manager Sarah Brent told the Hollywood Trade. They were originally introduced in Spawn, and it's Todd McFarlane's comic book series about the big city detectives who face a series of super grisly crimes that are connected to the occult. Now, I know you made me read this. I know this is my turn to read this, but god damn do I hate Spawn.
I enjoyed the hell out of Spawn growing up, although Sam and Twitch, the thing that always surprised me was that the character of Sam didn't die of a massive heart attack in the middle of the series.
And Twitch didn't die from, like...
and everything else that came his way. I think he was shot, stabbed. I think he had hellfire in his face at one point. He's carrying the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't frickin' know how he survived all this.
Yeah, Sam and Twitch... I'm aware of them because, as a product of the 90s, I definitely read my fair share of Image comic books. And I know what kind of characters they are, but I've always thought that Spawn was an exceedingly poor intellectual property. And it's gotten even worse. If you've been reading Spawn, and I guess the same people that are reading Archie are reading Spawn now because I never see anybody touch the books, Spawn currently looks like Venom in a cape. And I wondered why that was, and I looked and I saw the artist, Eric Larson, who is the reason why Venom has a gigantic tongue and drools on himself all the time.
Is it back to Al Simmons, or is it the new guy still?
I believe it's the new guy, and the frames that I saw on Larson's own Facebook page looked like Spawn with a gigantic mouth of teeth, a giant tongue, and was slobbering all over himself. And it's like, oh, lovely!
That's not Venom, that's Gene Simmons.
Well, it's Spawn now, and I guess we can take the idea of, it's Black Suit Spider-Man in a red cape for the 90s, because that's exactly what it was. Let's just put Doctor Strange in there to make it fancy. And now it's
before the 90s. That's exactly what happened in the 90s.
Yes. Before it came out.
Okay.
But, Spawn is a piece of shit property, and Todd McFarlane's a hack. That's my personal opinion.
Wow. We'll just leave that at the fucking door, then.
Yeah.
These are not words I ever expected associated with a comic book, but believe it or not, Dark Horse has movie sign.
We have movie sign!
According to the press release, Dark Horse has signed a new deal to produce a new comic book based on the cult hit property, which is now being reborn on Netflix, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
That's not exactly something I would have expected.
It is a brand new comic series as well as a variety of Dark Horse design products. According to the press release, quote, Mystery Science Theater 3000 follows the motley crew of a human host and his two robot sidekicks aboard the Satellite of Love. Not as much love as you think is happening on that satellite. The hapless host, trapped by mad scientists on a satellite in space, is forced to watch some of the most outrageously unfortunate B-movies ever created. To keep sane, he's built two robot sidekicks, and together they do a running commentary on the film, affectionately mocking their flaws with inspired wisecracks and acting as a demented movie theater peanut gallery. To prove there's still an audience out there, co-creator Joel Hodgson started the MST3K Revival Kickstarter, which resulted in an astonishing combined total of $6,364,229 allotted for new episodes and other licensed merchandise. Dark Horse is one of a number of licensees to sign on for the MST3K Consumer Products Program, unquote. I am a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I am clueless how you can translate that show into a comic book.
I have no idea, but they've been putting other properties in their comic books I thought were going to flounder as well. And aren't they still making Simpsons comics for Bongo?
Look, I grant that, but most licensed comic books are on a show that has an actual structure. The structure of Mystery Science Theater 3000 is watch crappy movie, make fun of crappy movie, credits.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they're probably going to go past that idea and look into maybe the lore of Crow and the variety of other robots. Maybe Joel will show up somehow in his own comic book form, but I don't think you're really going to be seeing movies because, goddamn, that's jumping the comic shark.
They had a movie already, though.
What do you mean?
Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. They've already done a movie of this property.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I meant the movies that they review, the ones that they showcase. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, I guess if you can make a sequel to Monos, The Hands of Fate, you can make just about anything these days.
Oh, God. I heard
about
that. I heard about that, and I heard that the person that has the rights to it is like the child of the main actor of the original movie.
I don't know about that. I know that the main actor, the guy who played the Master in the original film, he died recently, but not before filming all of his scenes for the sequel.
Yeah, and I think that there was a definite self-awareness of the tongue-in-cheek aspect of the movie throughout the entire shooting.
We'll have to see. Have you guys heard about the new movie Colossal?
I have not.
No.
I am curious about this because here's the synopsis. A young woman in Chicago wakes up as a giant monster is attacking several towns in Asia. And what she finds as she's watching the media is this giant monster copies every motion she makes while she's standing in her apartment.
Yes, I did see the trailer to this.
Yeah, imagine if you were in puppet-like control of the Cloverfield monster but had no conscious connection to it.
Yes, I think in the trailer the military force was becoming confused as the monster was trying out dance moves in the middle of the city.
Yeah. You want to see a trailer for this?
Let's see it.
Sure, let's see this absurdity.
All right, I sent the video. Hey, it's a Green Band trailer.
Band.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway showing her boobs everywhere.
You don't remember anything last night, huh?
I've never heard of those production companies.
You told me that you weren't really on a vacation.
Everybody in this film seems to drink, though.
You've been looking for a job for a year, and your boyfriend didn't work out?
You are out of control. What? I've packed your things. They're in the bedroom.
That is the most of a mess I've ever seen Anne Hathaway look.
Since you didn't have any money, you decided to move back here.
Is there anything else?
Well, there's that.
Oh, that's not anything new. I mean, Tokyo's getting destroyed by a giant monster. What is that, Friday?
The unprecedented nature of this
Sundance.
You know you're watching something.
Yeah, this has been shown to a few festivals. It's done pretty well so far.
You alright?
It's this nervous tick I have. I get this itch. Oh my god.
Thing appeared. Same place, exact same time. But it just made a bunch of weird hand gestures.
I wonder what the connection is between her and this thing.
It's gonna be one of those weird-ass fucking movie hooks.
It's dancing.
Is dancing like...
What
was that? What was that?
Oh, she felt that.
With like the pilot and everything? I feel terrible.
Village voice acting. Okay.
Give him a good show.
Give him a show.
Oh, she's putting up her fists. I wonder if she's gonna be fighting another kaiju.
That looks oddly entertaining.
It does.
That does, but there's got to be more to it.
I imagine there is. I mean, it comes out this April, and obviously the trailer's not... Well, a good trailer will not show you most of the story. You know,
right.
Thank you, freaking How to Train Your Dragon 2.
I mean, we're talking about the Godzilla trailer that was showing for like almost 2 years without anybody even thinking that there was other kaiju in the movie, and then that's the whole focus of it. When you saw Anne Hathaway, I hope I did her name right. She's sizing up. She's got her fists up. She's obviously going to fight something other than a skyscraper. So
I don't know. She could be fighting Tokyo Tower. I hear that thing has a nasty right hook.
Oh my god.
You know, sometimes I wish I was a kid again, because occasionally there are toys that kids get that just are not available to adults.
I suffer this feeling constantly.
Well, New York City Toy Fair happened this year, and it didn't make me feel any better, because they released some of the new Star Wars Black line. Star Wars Black, as some people know, is very accurate representations of different things in the Star Wars mythos. And, dear God, take a look at what they did for Poe Dameron's helmet.
Hit us. Let's see it.
Here's a side view of it. It is amazingly detailed.
Oh, wow, that is pretty.
Here is a front... I'll show you a front view of the thing, too. And it looks screen ready. It is appropriately scuffed in certain places. It has the communicator in it. Mm-hmm. It has speakers that will make occasional communication radio and or X-Wing sounds.
Mm-hmm.
This thing looks awesome. I don't have a cost on it, but this helmet is rated for kids 8 years old and older. Which means it will never fit around my fat head.
I heard it was too small for adults.
Yep, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
I put the Kylo Ren helmet on. That was exceedingly rewarding.
Actually, I logged this show on Wednesday. There has been an update that was posted this past Friday. Hasbro PR reached out to IO9 and informed them that this helmet does fit adults.
Oh,
really now?
Yeah, which means it'll fit most of you just fine, but with my oversized skull, I'm still staring at the rest of you going, I wish I could be an X-Wing pilot.
I'm going to put this in my car, and I'm going to wear it every time I drive.
What you should do is wear it every time you drive doing 80. As soon as you're pulled over and that state trooper walks over and says, "Sir, do you know how fast you were going?" "Yeah, and if I don't get there soon, this Death Star's going to blow up Yavin."
And of course, for added comedy, I drive a Mini Cooper.
And that's when you take off screaming. We'll find you on the news. There is some kind of lunatic that's driving very fast down the 80, and apparently he believes he's saving the resistance.
Either that or pulling the Italian job. Pick one.
I saw a few things coming from the Toy Fair that I said, I want that.
In continuing Star Wars news, we have, of course, some necessary news. R2-D2 is getting a new actor for The Last Jedi. As everybody knows, Kenny Baker passed away last year, and they are still intent in doing things the old way with R2-D2 and actually having an actor involved in it.
I like that premise.
Yeah, I mean, the fellow that's going to be into it, his name is Jimmy V, and V is entirely new to the role. He's worked alongside Baker on The Force Awakens as an uncredited assistant. Quote, "It's been an absolute pleasure to have worked alongside the legendary Kenny Baker," V said in a statement released to Oh So Small production agency. "Kenny was a fantastic actor and taught me all the quote-unquote tricks on how he brought R2-D2 to life, which I'll continue to portray in his honor." Spelled with a U, so you know this was done in England. "I'm so excited to be a part of the Star Wars universe, and I can't wait for everybody to see what I've been working so hard to do for the last year."
You just answered a question I had as to whether or not Jimmy V was another person of small stature, but considering this was released by the oh-so-small production agency...
Answers your question.
Yes, it did, just right there. Because my frame of mind said, okay, if they found somebody new to play R2-D2, either this is another little person in that robot can, or this is some wild crackhead and R2-D2's head is going to spin clean off in the middle of the film.
And for all of those people living in a cave and not bothering to look at the things that are coming up, you should know that Star Wars The Last Jedi is scheduled for release December 15th.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's going to be busy every Christmas now.
Yep.
Last up in general media news, as we know, the Ghost in the Shell film is to be released this year, the one with Scarlett Johansson, that has had a lot of people upset because they didn't like the idea of Scarlett Johansson playing Major Motoko Kusanagi in this film. We've discussed that a couple times on the show, where we know that's pretty much what the creator intended. He always pictured the Major as a woman that appeared to be at least of European descent.
Yeah.
A couple statues are being released based on the movie, and they are pretty pricey because they're 1/4 scale.
Wow.
And they're being priced. Yeah, they're being priced at about $450 each, and these are coming out via WETA, W-E-T-A.
Oh yeah, they did some of the stuff for Lord of the Rings.
Yes. WETA has contracted the moving picture company to release statues based on this. The statue of the Major... Actually, I'll just give you guys the whole link to the story so you can flip through the pictures at your leisure. What they've done for the Major, it's the right kind of look. However, Scarlett Johansson, I don't know. It looks like her nose is inflating in what they've sculpted for her.
Oh? Okay, now you're
her
actually
nose looks
making me
huge.
look at
It looks like Scarlett Johansson with a Jimmy Durante nose.
She does have a very pronounced nose. It's a little pointed.
A little bulbous, too.
You think so?
It's my personal standpoint after watching a few of her films. Most of the rest of it is fine.
Oh, yeah. She does have a bit of a bulb at the very end of it, doesn't she?
Yeah. And the pose is fine. The detail on it is pretty good, but it's just with the nose, and most of the face looks like her, but the nose is really distracting on this piece. The other statue there of the cyborg geisha, that's haunting.
Yeah, you know, the cyborg geishas in the trailer, that was the thing that spooked me the most, and that was actually the one detail on the major statue is the fact that she's actually holding the head of one.
Yes. Well, the geisha statue actually has an alternative head. There's one with the panels on it closed and another one with it splayed open.
That's cool looking.
You know, and as interesting as these are, and it looks like they're using real cloth on the geisha's statue there, these are really nice, but $450 a piece is a bit pricey.
You know, that's the going price these days for those gigantic statues. I haven't seen some Marvel statues going for this price as well.
Hey, I'm a sideshow collector, and I like those, but for a property right now that's still relatively untested, that's a bit of a risk.
True.
All right, now we have Marvel comic news. This is where we talk about Marvel properties that are on or are coming to the comic book pages. Alex Ross, I love his work, but when he does something, it makes everybody sit up and pay attention because you don't know if it's a pinup or if it's leading to something.
Right.
The fact that he teamed up with Marvel to produce this particular image is very notable because he titled his latest Marvel work Generations. And the reason why it's notable, and I sent you guys a link so you could take a look, is because it has several iterations of Marvel characters, both the original versions of the characters in the upper row and then the current versions of characters with same or similar names down beneath. That includes versions of Captain America, Thor, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the Hulk.
And Wolverine.
And Nova. And I forgot Nova in that list. But the reason why this is notable is not just because it's a really nice image. As we read post-Civil War II, there's a bit of a generational rift right now between Marvel heroes. So I got to ask, is this leading to something?
I think it is. And I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. I think it's all starting with the fallout from Civil War II and how the new book Champions has been fleshed out.
Well, I don't think it's just Champions, though, because even in all-new Wolverine and Thor, and to a lesser extent even Captain America, a lot of the characters that have picked up mantles based on other heroes haven't just hit rifts with their prior mentors. They're also hitting these points where they're finding out that because of the actions they've taken, their legacies have taken on whole new meaning. I mean, even Amadeus Cho, who's taken on the powers of the Hulk, he's not just fighting the random monsters like the Hulk used to on almost instinct. He's going out and trying his best to actually solve problems in the world. And I think that's the biggest difference between the younger and the older generation. The older generation is stuck in the mode of, well, if I keep hitting it, it'll fall down and the world will keep spinning, whereas Marvel's current younger generation is trying to actually solve societal issues.
If you know what, I'm noticing something looking at this picture that a majority of the older characters that these legacy characters are descending from are currently going through their own dark period. A majority, in fact, of these heroes are going through something that's bringing a lot of shame to them. I know that.
Hail Hydra!
Exactly. We got Captain America, who's currently still going through a year-long storyline where a cosmic cube has caused him to think that he was raised as a Hydra agent. We've also got Thor, who's unable to lift up his own hammer due to the fallout from the original Sin storyline, where Nick Fury whispered something into his ear. Yeah, he
just picked up his replacement. It's also notable, though, that the entirety of the upper line, with the exception of the Phoenix, have all been Avengers at some point in their careers, and two of these characters are dead, and one is offline.
Yeah.
So I would love to know if there's a story coming up, because as much as people may be tired of the trope of heroes fighting heroes, young versus old in Marvel could be an extremely explosive combat.
Nope.
I like the fact that Carol is
one-sided.
I like the fact that Carol is in the exact same position she's in, since she's in the picture twice.
It's not just the exact same position. I'm pretty sure he just used the exact same print model and then just changed the costume on it.
Yeah. I love Captain Marvel.
Sorry?
No, I was going to say that above my computer screen that we're looking at the Generations picture, I have a bust of Marvel right next to his son, Genus Vell, and of course right next to that, my Carol Danvers statue. So yeah, Captain Marvel's my jam.
Okay, zip your pants back up. So, Moon Knight artist Greg Smallwood, he's been working on the critically acclaimed Moon Knight series lately. He has sent out a piece of fan art, and apparently he has sent a pitch to Marvel for a new version of the Midnight Suns. The Midnight Suns was a 90s line. Originally it included the Ghost Rider at the time, which was Danny Ketch, Johnny Blaze, and Blade, the vampire hunter. And it appears from this fan art that the version he's pitched is somewhat similar, except now it's Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider, Blade Vampire Hunter, the Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, and Damien Hellstrom, the son of Satan.
Oh, that's a character that needs some redemption, big time.
I don't know if he needs redemption because he keeps flip-flopping back and forth. He just does whatever the hell he wants. Actually, I'm sorry, I have that wrong. That's not Damien Hellstrom, that's Hannibal King.
Oh, Hannibal King. I love Hannibal King.
So, Smallwood was very careful to say that this particular piece of art is fan art, but it is also the working basis for his pitch to Marvel. And he put out the question to the internet, would you read a series like this? And I gotta admit, just from the lineup, you've got me intrigued.
Oh, absolutely. I personally think they... Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say the original Midnight Suns was deep in Marvel's version of the occult, and the addition of Doctor Strange and Hannibal King just lends further to that. But if you're adding the current white suit wearing Moon Knight to this series, that means it's not just an occult problem. That means these are the guys who would be sent out to dig in the darkest corners of the Marvel Universe to find the truth now.
It'd be good timing with the Doctor Strange movie having just come out this past November, and the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC is currently in deep in a Darkhold-related story.
True, and there's something else to this that I found kind of interesting when I was looking at it. This particular fan art that he used in his pitch, take a look at the version of Blade he used on the right, because, boy, that is a semi-throwback costume he's got there. With the brown jacket, yes, he is, actually.
Oh, my God, he is.
Green glasses, beard, brown jacket, and a shotgun with a silver stake at the bottom.
I looked at it for a second and it almost looked like Will Smith.
The original Blade didn't look like Will Smith. He looked like Shaft.
He did, and he had this color jacket, and he had the green glasses. This is definitely a retro throwback, but thank God they don't use the wooden
But you didn't mention that he had a man's afro.
Oh, he did have a thick man afro. He had a 70s fro.
It was so impressive.
Indeed. Now, this next bit of news, we have to preface that we are going to be talking about spoilers. Specifically, in fact, spoilers about how Spider-Man Clone Conspiracy finalized recently. The 5-part series dealt with what we thought to be the Jackal engaged in a series of cloning activities trying to save the world by resuscitating a series of dead side characters, including J. Jonah Jameson's father, his wife, the old Spider-Woman, who I believe Maddie,
Maddie was number 3.
Yes. But basically, we were led to believe throughout the rest of the series that this was Jackal, which is Dr. Warren. The spoiler we're going to be discussing is the fact that it turned out that the Jackal was none other than Ben Reilly, the original clone of Peter Parker who went on to become the Scarlet Spider.
Well, Ben Reilly was revealed back in issue 3 to be this version of the Jackal, but for the purpose of this series, it's the end of the clone conspiracy, and what may be more important is who lived.
Right, and we got a finalized list of that kind of things. Now, the way that it ended kind of left a lot of people scratching their heads. We've got a Scarlet Spider comic book coming up in April, and we're led to believe that this is going to be starring Ben Reilly, because the book is called Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. But at the end of the book, he's Ashes. He's Ashes along with the ashes of Doc Ock, who was trying to fight him off to save both Spider-Man and his ex-girlfriend, whose name Anna Maria, that's the one.
Yes. The dwarf woman, yes.
Exactly. But a series of all the other clones that were involved in this disappeared, and now we're kind of wondering, okay, that's not exactly the resolution we were looking for to go into Scarlet Spider, so now what else do we have left?
Well, that actually does bounce into the next story going on here, because as you mentioned, Scarlet Spider is getting his own series, and we saw the new costume. That was the Mark Bagley one with a hood and the bizarre smile on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a recent press release has just shown that an alternative cover is coming out for Scarlet Spider #1, and it was confirmed by the writers at Marvel that by the end of the first story arc, the Scarlet Spider is going to be in this costume, which is extremely reminiscent of his original costume.
Yeah, the write-up of that particular piece left me a little confused. Am I led to believe that the one costume that we saw recently with the smirk on his face is what he's going to be starting off with, and he's going to go into his old 90s duds, or is it the other ways around?
I'm going to guess it's this new costume that's going to lead into the one that looks like his 90s costume, because the way it's been explained to me is that when Riley and Doc Ock went to Ashes, they were both fighting over what was deemed to be the perfect clone, and what that clone looked like was never really determined, but it was some kind of blank clone that either of their psyches could inhabit. So what the popular theory right now is that we're going to see a superior Scarlet Spider in the beginning with Doc Ock in control, and by the end of the first arc, Ben Reilly's going to gain control of the clone.
Which would explain why
the
in the
costume
end of,
change.
It would also explain why the fact that they're both Ashes at the end of this particular series, that maybe they're trying to catch lightning twice by getting the magic that was Superior Spider-Man, which was an excellent storyline, I might say.
Yeah, but if this is going to be the resolution in the first arc, I'd say they have the right idea by starting with this lightning in a bottle, but quickly moving on.
Right. But that also leads to the fact that Kane also survived this, and Kane is currently the Scarlet Spider. Not only did he survive it, but he survived it wearing the Scarlet Spider's costume. Well, partially. His chest is exposed in comic I Just Got Beat Up fashion.
Ooh, sexy.
Yes.
Well, Spider-Man's life is about to get more complicated, because it turns out we know what's going to happen now in Amazing Spider-Man #25, which is a mammoth 96 pages long.
Wow. Oh my God, that's that $10 book I was hearing about.
Yeah, the main story of it is 40 pages long. It is being done by Stuart Immonen, the artist from the Next Wave series and one of the co-creators of the series. And I bet you could guess what's happening in it, because somebody's coming back to harangue Spider-Man's life for this big anniversary. The story is called The Osborn Identity.
I wonder who it is.
Does it matter? Are they both alive or one dead?
Osborn, he is very much alive.
Okay.
Both Osborns are currently alive. In fact, Osborn's son is currently working at Parker Industries.
Yeah, but it's also been alluded to that Harry may have a vestige of his goblin strength and attitude in it, but he's trying very hard to control it. And when I say trying hard, I don't mean he's close to snapping. I mean anytime someone walks up to him and says, "Your father really needs to talk to you," he usually beats them within an inch of their life and leaves them in the street.
Really?
Daddy issues.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I read the early issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and boy, when it looked like Osborn was forming a conspiracy to take over Parker Industries, I assumed Harry was in on it somehow, but when he was approached by somebody with a goblin tattoo and he was alluding to, "Hey, Dad wants to see you," he didn't even start speaking to him. No quips, no funny jokes, no puns, just started knocking the hell out of him.
I can't believe I missed that. That sounds awesome.
So that's the 40-page main story. Dan Slott and Giuseppe Camuncoli will also bring a top-secret side story. Hammond Blumenreich is making her debut in Spider-Man as well. Cale Atkinson is bringing another installment of The Amazing Spider-Aunt. The villain of Clash is returning courtesy of Christos Gage and Todd Knock. Jacob Chabot and Anthony Height bring an all-new Marvel Tsum Tsum tale. And James Asmus and Tana Ford are taking the web-slinging wonder back to Shanghai for a sneak peek at some of his spider tech. That is a very busy issue.
Indeed,
and
that's a lot.
Actually, that's yours. Sorry.
And our Spider-Man news, continues. This one speaks to me personally. Back in the 70s and the 80s, there was actually two Spider-Man titles going on. There was The Amazing Spider-Man, and there was Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, which had really cool, because up in the left-hand corner of most Marvel comics, they would usually have a picture of the hero involved. And in Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, it was always Spider-Man without his mask on. I thought that was cool. See, we're revisiting that. A second Spider-Man ongoing is being launched with that exact same name, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Entertainment Weekly broke the story recently about the new ongoing series, which is going to be written by Chip Zdarsky, I hope I didn't mispronounce that, and drawn by one of my personal favorites, Adam Kubert. It's going to launch with a free story in one of Marvel's 2 free comic book days on May, I believe, the 6th?
Yeah, that's May 6th.
Right. Or, of course, the first issue is going to be coming out the following month. When approached, Zdarsky had to say, this is a more personal book than The Amazing Spider-Man. Quote, the main book, Amazing Spider-Man, has kept things fresh by stretching the character and his situations, Zdarsky explained. It's still classic Spider-Man at its core, but transposed with a new setting. With this book, we're using the same Spider-Man in continuity, but shifting the spotlight back to his New York City environment and supporting cast.
I do like the cover they added there. That's not just Spider-Man pulling apart his shirt for the old costume underneath, but also the mustard stain on it.
And that the mustard stain went through his shirt onto his Spider-Man costume?
I noticed that.
This seems like classic Spider-Man tales where he can't always win.
Yeah. And that's why Spider-Man has always worked as a book. And it took me a long time for me personally to realize that I fucking love Spider-Man. I've always been a big fan of, secondary characters, third-tier heroes, because I always thought I'm the hipster of the comic book ages. I don't care about Wolverine. I like Sabretooth. Screw Green Lantern. I like Sinestro. That's the way I've rolled. But it really comes down to it, Spider-Man's mainstream, and I fucking love him.
Okay, well, then this next story is going to speak to you a little bit, because in this May, the Venom series that Marvel currently has going on is going to return to its original numbering with Venom number 150. The story will feature the return of Eddie Brock to the role of Venom, with a backup story that explains how the symbiote parted ways with his prior host, Flash Thompson. The issue is going to be written by series regular Mike Costa. Art is going to be from a guest artist named Trad Moore. The Flash Thompson backup is going to be written by Robbie Thompson, and the art will be by regular Venom artist Gerardo Sandoval. So it's a little bit of a split on the regular cast right now. There will be a second backup story by Spider-Man writer Dave Michelin with art by Ron Lim, which will flash back to Venom's Lethal Protector days.
Ron Lim. Man, I've been wondering what happened to him.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a while. Issue number 150 will be the first adventure of the reunited Eddie Brock and the symbiote once they're free of Lee Price and the FBI Symbiote Task Force, according to editor Devin Lewis.
Yeah, it leads also Eddie Brock and Venom swinging into the concrete jungle. There's a lot of this Lethal Protector stuff going on in the DNA of Mike's current run and his approach to Eddie. And like that story, Mike's got a lot of heart. But we've been adamant about the fact that the symbiote has to be the threat, not necessarily to Eddie, to anybody in particular other than Spider-Man, but certainly to the world around it. Personally, this seems kind of bittersweet to me. I absolutely love Agent Venom. I thought Flash Thompson was perfect with it.
I had fun with that one too.
And I say bittersweet because I don't like the fact that they're pulling away from Agent Venom. I don't like the fact that they're sidelining Flash Thompson again. But at the same time, I love that they're taking the Venom symbiote away from that piece of crap 90s throwback super edgelord that they put him on. I don't know if you've been reading Venom lately, but
I haven't. I've been curious to try it out. I'm kind of bittersweet on this myself, but only because they're trying to do more Lethal Protector stuff. I don't mind the Venom symbiote being used by heroically minded people, but I was kind of excited with the idea of Venom going full villain again. He's always been one of Spider-Man's greatest foils.
True, and I think it really hasn't worked out. When the symbiote was on Matt Gargan, previously the Scorpion, it didn't really work out that much. Venom was really just a big, sloppy black blotch that ate people. I mean,
I don't know. The line from Gargan of "I like eating squirrels" are a lot like popcorn that squirms.
Yeah, but that was back when they were trying to write Venom as an outright cannibal. I mean, he was hunting people, jumping in dumpsters, and eating homeless people.
Yeah.
It's a dark time. I just loved Agent Venom. I really hated the guy that they started the new Venom series off with, and I'm really glad that he's only there as a placeholder until this 150 rolled around.
Well, Steve Rogers has a serious problem. And I mean beyond the problems that he already has with his rewritten memories. It is no secret to anybody who reads comics or watches the news these days that Steve Rogers has been corrupted by the Red Skull to believe he's been an agent of Hydra since he was a young lad. Which has really thrown off the movie-watching public. I'm still getting emails occasionally how this is the stupidest story ever. Which I disagree with. I think it's rather compelling myself. But as of Steve Rogers' Captain America number 11, Steve has an additional problem. It was revealed that some of his rewritten memories have Baron Zemo as one of his best friends growing up. Helmut Zemo. Which is not the problem. Steve Rogers in the current age has convinced Zemo to go along with his plan to supplant the Red Skull as the leader of Hydra, and things seem to be progressing rather well. No, his problem is coming from a whole other area. Do you guys remember early on in our reading of Steve Rogers, there was an adventure in Bagalia?
Vaguely.
No.
It is an island that's entirely supervillain run. The place has barely any laws. As a result of that adventure, Jack Flag was mortally wounded. In issue number 11, he is buried.
Oh!
Yes. But that's not the surprise. The surprise is, as he said, Hail Hydra, he saved Eric Selvig from a Quinjet that crashed into a skyscraper at Bagalia and wiped the flight recorder.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Okay, Bagalia's local law enforcement is run by the Taskmaster. And the Taskmaster, being extremely well informed, is fully aware that most Quinjets have a classified second flight recorder.
Oh, you Tasky.
Guess what he found in it?
Could it be him, our good friend Steve Rogers, saying that phrase? Hail Hydra.
It is, and both Taskmaster and his lieutenant, the Black Ant, are now both very aware and are convinced they're about to become very, very rich.
So it's going to be a couple of villains pulling the plug on...
I doubt it because... No, I doubt it because, as we know, Secret Empire comes out in April, and this issue just came out this month. What I believe is going to happen is pretty soon, Steve is going to get a couple letters from some guys who are very much convinced they're about to be very, very rich.
Oh, they're going to be very, very dead.
I don't think so.
The Black Ant may be very
no, dude, I mean...
survive.
We've read that Steve Rogers is responsible for most of the nefarious things that have happened since the relaunch of Marvel Comics post-Secret Wars.
Oh, God, yeah. Civil War. I actually had to go back and read Captain America after I finished Civil War. In fact, I read Captain America after our recording of our review of Civil War 2, and to find out that he had a hand in damn near everything that happened, including Bruce Banner being set up and being shot. I mean, holy shit.
And now he gets to doubly profit from that by having Bruce Banner's remains now.
Yeah, and he that was actually what Civil War: The Oath was all about. Everybody's thinking, oh, okay, it's Steve Rogers. He's gonna give his oath to Iron Man that he will do what he can do to help him. And when his oath turned out to be, I'm gonna tear down everything you stood for.
Yeah, it reminds me of that episode of Powerpuff Girls, oddly, when there was a massive fire and the firemen wouldn't move because they just said, the Powerpuff Girls will handle it. That's about where Marvel is right now. If there's a major catastrophe, most of America is going to be, well, Steve Rogers and S.H.I.E.L.D. can handle it. I ain't doing shit.
God damn it, Steve.
Marvel's also announced a new Guardians of the Galaxy Mother Entropy miniseries. It's going to be a 5-issue limited series from one of the original writers of Marvel Cosmic, Jim Starlin, and artist Alan Davis.
I love Alan Davis.
This will be just in time for the May release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The story is supposed to focus on Mother Entropy. She's a new cosmic villain created by Starlin just for this miniseries. Starlin, if you want to know how good he is at creating characters, he's also created Thanos, the Infinity Stones, Drax, and Gamora.
I need him to sign a glove.
This is a standalone series that's supposed to be accessible to both fans of comic books and the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Alan Davis did some redesigns for the characters, giving the Star-Lord a goatee and putting Gamora back in a suit that he calls less Stormtrooper, more Space Ninja. And he's added a new member to the Guardians for this series, a character that's well known to fans of the Marvel Cosmic, Pip the Troll.
Oh, hey, I love Pip. God,
I'm not a fan of Pip the Troll. He's Wolverine, but he's 2 feet tall, is basically my opinion of him.
Well, if you read Pip in some of the late 90s stuff that Jim Starlin was doing, he really was a great character. I mean, aside the fact that he was kind of a goofy-looking dwarf with cloven feet and a cigar, which we're probably never going to see again, he was cool.
The only time I liked Pip the Troll was late in not Alan Davis, Peter David's X Factor run.
Yeah, that's right. He was the personal assistant, and he was a teleporter.
He was their receptionist, yeah.
Yeah.
I sent you guys an image of the cover that was done for this Guardians of the Galaxy Mother Entropy. I'm a fan of Alan Davis's work, although I got to ask, what did he do to Gamora?
Oh, God, you're going to make me look at this now, aren't you?
Well, the Space Ninja outfit, that's a matter of preference. I don't mind the Stormtrooper-like outfit she's had lately, and I hope she keeps that in current comics. My question is, why is her forehead 3 feet tall?
Oh. Because Alan Davis draws women a lot like this.
She looks like she needs Rogaine.
He drew Cerise like this as well.
It bugs the hell out of me. Most of his male characters are fine. Star-Lord, that visor looks almost painful. And Rocket Raccoon looks like a terrier.
Yeah, he does. I believe the term for what you're looking at here is she has a proud forehead.
That's not proud forehead. That's a forehead that has its own war cry. Last up in Marvel comic news, there's some new information that's been released about X-Men Prime, which is the relaunch to the X-Men post-Resurrection. And the upcoming X-Men Prime is adding additional stories and artists. According to a presser that was sent to retailers, Leonard Kirk and Ibrahim Roberson have joined the book. They're going to be drawing previously unannounced additional stories by series writer Mark Guggenheim to go with the main story, which is being drawn by Ken Lashley. The book is coming out March 29th. That's a lot sooner than I pictured. It has not been increased from its solicit page count, though. This will be a 40-page issue, and the price will be $4.99 on the cover. For those that don't remember, X-Men Prime, according to the solicit, reads, quote, "In the wake of their war with the Inhumans, the X-Men are at a crossroads. Where do they go from here? Luckily, one beloved X-Men has the answer to that question. Xavier's dream comes full circle as Kitty Pryde returns to the X-Men, ready to lead them in their mission to protect a world that hates and fears them. The next chapter of the X-Men saga starts here," unquote.
Yeah, and I like some of the new costume redesigns on this, and I do believe that this is also where Rachel Gray kind of decides to take on her own identity and start being a legacy character.
Well, sort of. She becomes Prestige.
Right.
And I don't know exactly what that means. I sent the image so you guys can take a look. The combined teams here are X-Men Gold, which will be a more classic team, and X-Men Blue. Although I've noticed that they've added Old Man Logan and Sabretooth into this image, as well as Wolverine and Jubilee. So there's references to most of the new X-Men series coming.
It's my understanding, and this is only because I'm a super hardcore Sabretooth fan, but he actually won't be in an X-Men title. He'll be in an X-Force title.
No. The series is under the X-Men umbrella. The series is called Weapon X.
Oh, that's right. Oh, God.
Somebody is weaponizing and murdering mutants, and Weapon X is, as most of them are former, I guess you could say former subjects of the Weapon X program, have taken it upon themselves to end this particular threat. And the thing that is most notable to me in that series is not necessarily Sabretooth or Old Man Logan being involved, but Lady Deathstrike.
Yes, well, that's a throwback to the Wolverine series that her and Sabretooth worked together soon after good old Logan got encased by adamantium.
I understand that, but Lady Deathstrike working to end the threat of Wolverine, I understood. That was pragmatism in my idea, or in my mind, I should say. The idea that she's going to do something to actively save mutants, even if it includes saving herself, just seems so weird to me. So I'd like to know more about why she's involved.
I bet you it has something a lot to do with the Wolverine series itself. I think that she had a sense of duty over what happened with Logan, so that might be part of it.
I don't know. I'm just more excited about this new era that they're pushing, where the Xavier School is going to be replanted in the middle of Central Park. You didn't know about that?
I did not know that.
One of Kitty Pryde's first ideas to bring the X-Men back into the superhero community at large, as well as the world, is that her idea is they need to stop segregating themselves. They can't just hide in upstate New York. They can't hide in islands in the San Francisco Bay. They can't have orbiting satellite stations. They need to be where people can access them and get used to the idea that mutants are not inherently dangerous. So her idea, and this is what they do, is move the Xavier Mansion to the center of Central Park in New York City.
Okay.
Which it's a nice concept, but at the same time, when a castle-like building suddenly appears in the middle of Central Park, that's not exactly a confidence builder.
It would be the first time something like that has happened from an X title, if we all remember what happened with X Factor and Ship.
I understand that, but it's not like they stayed, just right there in the park. At least they were above the city.
I'm really curious what the building permits are going to be like.
Property taxes are going to suck. Let's just agree to that. But I think more importantly, though, is I may be underestimating the average populace of the Marvel Universe. After all, this is a city that lived with Reed Richards and his bullshit for decades.
True. I feel like I should explain my reference with Ship. Back in the 80s and 90s, X Factor was aboard a building-sized celestial ship that was sentient. They simply called Ship. And after a particularly nasty adventure, Ship parked itself on its end like a building right in the middle of New York.
Huh. And it produced an X on itself.
Yeah.
Now is DC Comic News. This is where we talk about the other major publisher and their stories and characters and comic book pages now and in the near future. I think you have the first story in this bracket.
I can. It's a small story.
Sorry,
it's a small story. We're really just talking about the writer shakeup in Trinity. DC title is actually going to be starting early. Writer Cullen Bunn was solicited as taking over the new title with April's issue 8, but the publishers informed retailers it's going to start out a little early. The March 15th issue of Trinity 7, originally solicited as being written by the original series writer and sometime artist Francis Manapul, has been recently updated to be written by Bunn himself. The originally solicited art team has also been amended to being Clayman and Miguel Mendonca. Mendonca? I have no idea. One of those.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that either.
Yeah, the press release on this one is, in this issue, this features art by Clayman and Miguel whatever, and a cover by Clayman. Darkness looms as the unholy trinity of Ra's al Ghul, Circe, and Lex Luthor gather. Reads DC's amended description for Trinity 7 as the deadly and mystical Pandora pits are bubbling over. Circe's dark prophecy is foretold, but which side will Lex, the so-called Superman of Metropolis, follow on? And who will stop the monstrous composite trinity?
Oh, dear God. I get nervous whenever a villain is called the composite anything. Yeah, it's an expansion on the composite Superman, which is half Superman and half Batman. Now we have the composite Trinity, which I assume is half Superman, half Batman with Wonder Woman's vagina, but I'm just guessing there. I would like to know what the Pandora pits are, though. I'm aware of what Lazarus pits are in DC. I've never heard of the Pandora pits.
Honestly, I don't even read Trinity. I could not even answer that question.
Well, I think Pandora has something to do with Wonder Woman lore.
Well, maybe not. Up until the Rebirth, remember, Pandora was responsible for the New 52 in DC before she was annihilated in DC Rebirth number 1.
And how she was annihilated was awesome.
Debatable, but June 3rd is going to be pretty special for DC Comics. They have declared Saturday, June 3rd, Wonder Woman Day, which may have to do with the fact that this is the day after June 2nd, which is the release of the Wonder Woman movie. However, there are no other details to go along with whatever they're going to do for Wonder Woman Day. Maybe they're going to get her fired from the UN all over again. This is something I found kind of interesting. There's a classic Green Arrow story that's being reincorporated into the Rebirth version of Green Arrow. And it's not a friendly story, but it's one that added a lot of humanity to one of their characters. And they are rebirthing the Snowbirds Don't Fly storyline. I know Jesse and Steve won't know what that is. Snowbirds Don't Fly is the storyline that originally came out in the Green Arrow, Green Lantern series, where they found out that Green Arrow sidekick, Speedy, a.k.a. Roy Harper, was addicted to heroin.
Oh, I'm aware of this, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 9 months of the new Green Arrow series, the series writer Benjamin Percy has been turning Oliver Queen's life upside down and reestablishing some of his pre-Flashpoint relationships. For example, in the New 52, he and Black Canary didn't know each other very well. Post-Rebirth, they've suddenly got to know each other pretty darn well. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yep.
As of Green Arrow number 17, Roy Harper is going to co-star in the book with Ollie for a new storyline called Reunion. And it is in this issue that the Snowbirds Don't Fly storyline is going to be reintroduced.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one came first, this one or the Harry Osborn's bat with drugs.
Okay. Sorry, I was listening to you say that. It's like I don't know which came first, the heroin or the Roy.
The story, yeah, no. No, I'm not sure which one started. I think Marvel's did it first with Harry Osborn being addicted to drugs, where he just kind of throw the comic code authority out the window.
Yeah,
and the world didn't fall.
I don't know. I can't say I've really followed the comic book history of heroin addicts. It turns out Deathstroke is going to be taking on the Teen Titans again in comic books. They are not rewriting the Judas contract again. They are starting a new 4-part crossover between the series of Teen Titans, Deathstroke, and Titans, which will see Deathstroke taking on the Titans on a whole once again. The storyline is being called the Lazarus Contract. Supposedly, Deathstroke believes that if he can get his hands on the recently resurrected Wally West, he can bring his dead son Grant, the original Ravager, back to life.
Huh.
Oh, that's quite a bit of a throwback.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lazarus Contract shares a name with a 1984 storyline, the Judas Contract, which we all know by now is when Tara betrayed the entirety of the Titans in favor of her lover at the time, Slade Wilson.
Which was
so
really gross.
Yes.
Who
there's still
wrote that? Was that Marv Wolfman that wrote that?
Yeah, that was Marv Wolfman and George Perez who did the 1984 Judas Contract.
God,
there are no known traders for either the Teen Titans or Titans in the Lazarus Contract, but there's still time to set one up because the Lazarus Contract comes out beginning this May. Some of the writers involved are Benjamin Percy, Christopher Priest, and Dan Abnett. Artists involved are Paul Patelier, Brett Booth, and Carla Pagulian, and Koi Pham.
I tell you. All right, moving on to cooler areas, which means it's time for Green Lantern. Woohoo! It is no mystery, well, at least no mystery to me, that Green Lantern is probably my absolute favorite DC title. When I say that, I mean, of course, the Jeff Johns created title. And a recent fold has happened in the Green Lantern title with the case of Simon Baz. Simon Baz is a Lebanese-American Green Lantern, which is actually an ancestry shared by Jeff Johns himself, who
Jeff
had
Johns
a bit
is
of
Lebanese?
He, in fact, is Lebanese-American. Now, when Simon Baz first came out, he had some controversy along with him for the fact that even though he had a ring, he also carried a pistol. Of course, the story went in the fact that he didn't trust the ring, but he could trust the pistol. And he even came to blows with Batman, who told him that gun is going to get someone hurt or killed in my city, which Simon, of course, responded with, exactly, this gun is going to hurt the bad guys in your city. Trust me.
You know what? Simon Baz carrying a gun just makes him the most American Green Lantern that ever lived.
Well, never mind the fact that who was the one that created all the weapons with the ring?
That was John
Stewart.
Yeah. So, you know what? A lantern with a gun? Heavens no. It's a real gun? Oh, God.
Yeah, but there is a bit of a difference, though. Only in the fact that he's carrying an unregistered firearm, which is a little bit scary.
I never heard anything about being unregistered.
Well, that particular...
he can't carry one. He's a felon.
Now, I don't know if this was the original intent.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I don't know if this was the original intent by Jeff Johns with this particular character, but this particular wrinkle in Green Lantern mythos is coming to an end, with Simon choosing his ring over his gun. They talk a little bit about why he did it, him believing that the gun was more reliable, but it really had nothing to do with the fact that he thought the gun was more reliable. It had everything to do with him being more reliable as a Green Lantern himself. So, and I believe they tell the issue number, or no, I can't
Green
get
Lantern
to it.
17.
Thank you. It's finally getting to say goodbye to it.
I did like the little wrinkle, though, that not only is he displaying more confidence in the ring, but the gun, as they've written it, was also a manifestation of his fear. So him being able to get rid of it means he is now able to access more power directly out of the ring because he has released this part of his fear.
It's strange right now. The main Green Lantern title is not a Hal Jordan title. It's actually a buddy with Simon Baz and his partner, who used to be a villain called Power Ring, who just joined Justice League for a while. I don't have the name of her. Oh, yes, I do. Jessica Cruz.
Jessica Cruz, yeah.
Well, both of them didn't seem like the proper candidates for Green Lantern. Specifically, like you said, his fear manifested in that pistol. But, man, Jessica Cruz bleeds fear. But Jessica Cruz is a character who, before the Lantern Ring took her over, was a shut-in. For several years, she suffered from, I believe the term is agoraphobia, where she absolutely could not deal with the outside world. And this particular fear is still manifesting, even though she's a Green Lantern.
Yeah, but I kind of had a little bit of fun when I read the Rebirth Green Lanterns, not because I thought it was a good series, but just because at the end of it, Hal Jordan says he's got duties in space, he can't stick around, so he was assigning both Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz to the Justice League, to which my response is, you're assigning two rookie Green Lanterns to the Justice League? Dig their graves right now.
I thought it was a weird choice, too, especially since both of them have very deep flaws. Now, granted, Simon Baz can do things with the ring that no other ring slinger has ever been able to do, which is resuscitate people on the brink of death. But he just doesn't seem like the proper candidate. I mean, if the rings were running around looking for people who could conquer fear, I sure as hell wouldn't go to Jessica Cruz or Simon Baz. But
Not my first pick.
Yeah, but I guess that's what the story is, and I guess that's what they're trying to do here. I'll stick it out and see where it goes.
Bane is going to be working with his creators again. Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan are reuniting with the villain of Bane for a new 12-issue limited series called Bane Conquest. This is reported by CBR.com. It's debuting in May. The miniseries reteams Bane with his long-lost henchmen Bird, Trog, and Zombie to find new cities to conquer and new enemies to crush. I hope he means John Cena.
You can't see John Cena.
I don't want to see John Cena. That's the point. Nolan and Dixon created Bane in 1993 with Doug Moench. No mention of Moench as being involved in this new project. According to Dixon, quote, always happy to be reunited with Graham, and this is an especially heady experience, returning to our most significant contribution to the Batman mythos. The best aspect of this project is that it's not a cameo or a nostalgia tour for Graham and I. It's more like we're back after all this time to work on a truly epic story about Bane, and we haven't lost a step, unquote. Is there a market for a series about Bane and his adventures of conquering in DC?
I can't. Well, the only thing I can think of is when he joined the Secret Six, he immediately took over the leadership role.
I grant you that, but this is no longer that universe.
Oh, God, I wish it was.
It is not. The Secret Six never existed in this version of DC.
Oh, you're killing me. You know you do that.
I wish I could say it's
me.
true. I mean, Ragman is Ragdoll's a villain in this series still, and I don't think he's ever had any interactions with Bane or Catman in this universe.
No, he's the second Ragdoll has always been a bit of a kind of villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. We got a bit of Jack Kirby-esque news to report. This is a weird one. I mean, I've got a healthy knowledge of both Marvel and DC, but this character I barely know anything about. But DC Comics has announced a title called Bug! The Adventures of Forager. Basically, this is a Young Animal imprint title from Lee Allred and artists Mike and Laura Allred, which I believe that's the Madman team, right?
Yes.
They also did the X-Force revamp and went into Ecstatics. But Forager is part of the New Gods that Jack Kirby created in the 70s. He's rarely appeared out of anything outside of the Fourth World titles, but he did play apparently a key role in the 52. The press release on it says, ever since Mike and I read a battered copy of New Gods 9 in the waiting room before guitar lessons, we loved Forager the Bug, Lee Allred told AV Club. Kinetic action hero on one hand, an alienated introspective youth on the other. He's the quintessential young animal, capitalized.
It sounds more like a side character in Pump Up the Volume.
Yeah, we're taking Bug in a slam-bang, save the action romp across DC's Kirbyverse as we search for Bug's true place in life. It's a family team project all about a family road trip, and don't make us turn this Kirby car around. Now, can we say future canceled title? I can.
I think we surely can. I think we surely can, because as much as Kirby deserves all the respect and praise he gets, I do think that a lot of his creations were much better suited for the times they were born in. And a lot of creators, when they're assigned to Kirby projects, have struggled to bring these characters into the modern age. And the Fourth World, I mean, as much as you need to create characters that are on Superman's level, so Kryptonite is not his only weakness, the Fourth World always seemed kind of extraneous to me.
It really did. There was a storyline that they did in Green Lantern a couple years ago where they tried to have all the New Gods fighting against the Green Lantern Corps. It was garbage. It was really, really garbage. I was screaming in rage for the better part of a year as this thing rolled by.
Yeah, and now they brought back one of the most obscure ones in Forager the Bug, or Bug the Forager.
Which will be launching May 10th to celebrate the 2017. That would have been at Jack Kirby's 100th birthday.
You know, I enjoy trying out new stuff, but I just can't see myself picking up issues of this.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I am a Wildstorm fan, though. I mean, I enjoy it when people try new things, and Wildstorm always tries to really push the edges of what the superhero genre can take. Just this past week, the first issue of the Wildstorm, Warren Ellis' relaunch of the Wildstorm universe, came out. And DC either has a lot of faith or the early buys on the Wildstorm must have been strong, because it's just been announced this week that the Warren Ellis reboot of the Wildstorm universe has expanded to 4 titles now. We only know 2. There is the central series, The Wildstorm, and now they've just announced a second series titled Michael Cray. Michael Cray, for those who remember, is the full name of the character known as Deathblow in Wildstorm comics.
Indeed.
According to Ellis, quote, I mean, there were a lot of Wildstorm books, and I remember I said it was a pirate ship? The world burning was all over the place. I had to sit down and write a fucking cosmology for this project. Jim Lee made me invent 12,000 years of intergalactic history, and I will never forgive him, unquote.
You know, and I personally hope... there's some aspects of Wildstorm I really dug. I mean, I'm a gigantic Backlash fan. But, man, Authority, I would give one of my fingers for old world Authority stories again.
Well, I don't know about old world. I know Warren Ellis was a big reason for the success of the early issues of the Authority and the late issues of Stormwatch. There is some good news in that prospect, though, because some of the images that have been released lately in regards to the Wildstorm seem to indicate a new version of the Jenny character has shown up.
Jenny Sparks. Oh, yeah. Nice.
Well, I can't say it's Jenny Sparks, because if you remember, the Jennies were representatives of their different centuries.
Right.
And Jenny Sparks was a blonde-haired British woman. This woman seems to have, I want to say, either Mediterranean or Asian ancestry, and she's a firm brunette.
This actually very well could be Jenny Quantum. If you remember, when Jenny Sparks died, she was reincarnated as a Chinese woman called Jenny Quantum. Although, I really can't say that this is Jenny Quantum because she's clearly wearing a British flag there.
Yeah, and the other part of the good news here is that Ellis has stated that this new Wildstorm reboot will not affect the Wildstorm characters still alive and active in DC's line, like Apollo and Midnighter. So he is going to be explaining that, or he explained that his story takes full advantage of DC's multiverse concept.
Oh, good. Then that means authority. Please give me authority. I want to see shit blowing up. I want to see dirty S&M versions of the Avengers getting blown up. I loved fucking authority so much.
Okay, so we've covered that you've seen the latest John Wick. Great. Now, I have a little bit of a word game for you in the last DC comic story.
Okay. All right.
What do these characters have in common? Jonah Hex, the Martian Manhunter, Lobo, Batman, Yosemite Sam, Marvin the Martian, the Roadrunner, and Elmer Fudd.
Nothing.
The hell?
That is not true, sir. Because those names I just gave you are part of the recently announced DC Looney Tunes crossovers coming.
I give up.
Wow. Oh.
I don't know, because all they did was release the words, those names, and the words "stay tuned," but they released them in purposeful pairs that make me think that these particular characters are appearing in at least one-shot issues together. Jonah Hex and Yosemite Sam, the Martian Manhunter and Marvin the Martian, Lobo and the Roadrunner, and Batman and Elmer Fudd.
That Roadrunner is doomed.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, I think Lobo may have met his match.
I think I've seen the cover with Lobo. Why are the Coyotes with him?
Yeah, Lobo's screwed.
Yeah, Wile E. Coyote is the one that hired Lobo to get that damn Roadrunner.
Yeah, the first Acme rocket that shows up and Lobo's losing his bike. Although, if Elmer Fudd goes swinging around Gotham with a grappling hook, I'm frickin' in. I gotta know where that leads.
I noticed recently in some solicitations that the Old World Lobo, which is probably being used in that article you're talking about, is actually a member of the Justice League of America.
Yep, they brought him back.
Yeah, it's a second series, and half of it is populated by former villains or redemption characters.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I was reading a recent issue of Green Lantern wherein a lot of items from Larfleeze's vault were being disappeared. And one of the items that did not disappear but remained in its container was the stupid, skinny reboot of Lobo that they tried to pass off as the real deal.
Yeah, well, the new Lobo was the real deal. I mean, he had the blessing of Lobo's creator and everything. He did not mind a new take on the character, but what it all comes down to, though, is what sells, and the new Lobo series just did not do well commercially.
No. So what's the story now? Is it big, thick, I've got a big chain, is I'm the real deal?
Yeah, there's only one Lobo running around the DC universe, and it is the one based on the original creation.
So what about the skinny guy? Because the skinny guy is clearly still in the continuity.
Well, I think the most expansive and important answer I can give to your question is, who cares?
Good point. Moving on.
You know, don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
I honestly don't really have a horse in this race, but I was confused for a moment.
All right, now we have general comic and convention news. This is where we talk about comic books that are not Marvel or DC related, as well as conventions happening all around the world. Still, there is no date that has been announced for the first badge sale for San Diego Comic-Con, and there are people in my email right now that are threatening to eat me if I can't find that information soon. And I mean that quite figuratively and literally. But that hasn't stopped Comic-Con from announcing its fourth wave of guests for the 2017 convention. And this wave is the first one I've seen in a while that doesn't have anybody I'm aware of, but I'm sure these people have importance. Simon Hanselman, the cartoonist from Megahex. The author of the Farseer trilogy and the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, Robin Hobb. Writer and artist on Descender and the Secret Hero Society and Little Gotham, Dustin Nguyen. And the artist on the Dinosaurs, William Stout.
Dinosaurs?
The Dinosaurs is all it says. I'm not familiar with William Stout's work. But as with every special guest they announce, not only will these people be appearing at Comic-Con and very likely be available for signatures at some point, but they all get their own spotlight panels. So you can expect an opportunity to sit down for at least an hour and hear the best stories these people have.
Yay, stories.
Oh, Comic-Con panels are some of the best because even though it's a family-friendly environment, a lot of these guys cut loose and say whatever's on their mind in the moment. The panel that Jesse and I saw with G. Willow Wilson was amazing.
Who's that?
She's the creator of Kamala Khan.
You know what? I already feel shame for not knowing this.
You know, I have a selfie towering over the woman. It's really weird.
Oh, well, she does good work, and That's I've actually been asked by people that not are really knowledgeable in comics but have families, and they understand that comics tend to be a gateway drug to reading. And I'll be approached like, "What's a really good book for a kid?" And the first thing I'll always bring up is Ms. Marvel.
Yep, Saga. It's great for kids.
No,
No!
that's like fucking telling you, oh yeah, first good anime, Ninja Scroll.
Wait, what's the right response for this? Lying.
You know what? I recently picked up Volume 4 of Saga and started reading it, and then, out of nowhere on the third page I started reading was the image of the birth of Prince Robot's son.
Oh, God.
And I mean a full image of the actual birth of his son, and I had to shut that book because I was still sitting in Barnes & Noble when I was reading it.
Well, prepare yourself. I'm opening up a monster. There we go.
That's exactly what she said during the birth. But one of the guests of this year's San Diego Comic-Con, Kevin Eastman, he's announced not only is he going to Comic-Con, he's having what he calls his Global Trekker Tour for 2017. The list of conventions this man is going to visit is almost awe-inspiring. Yes, Comic-Con Brussels, La Mole Comic-Con in Brazil, WonderCon in Anaheim, Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, Big Fest in Russia, Amazing Las Vegas Comic Convention, Montreal Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, Bell County Comic-Con, Amazing Comic-Con, Super Mega Fest in New England, Tracy Comic Show, El Paso Comic-Con, and MegaCon. That man is not going to know what his house looks like at the end of this year. I mean, I grant it's great that he's able to travel that often, and, arguably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is very unlikely to ever stop paying this man royalties, but, dear God, you gotta at least be in your house long enough to get a sandwich, sir.
Oh, God, what was Eastman's partners? Was it David Laird?
Yeah. Yeah.
Laird.
Yeah, didn't he, sell his stock in TMNT?
Laird did. Eastman has never really stopped. He has stopped working on the books, but he's never sold his ownership. To this day, in Plexiglass, he still has his original concept sketch of what Michelangelo would look like. And people have asked him how much he would sell that for, and he really doesn't have an answer. He's convinced that about the day he needs lifetime hospice care, he might part with that sketch.
So on death's door, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Let's hope he doesn't end up screwed like Cockrum.
Once my clone is ready, then I might sell. But in further Comic-Con news, a very popular genre show, Outlander, it's based on a book series, that is actually returning to Comic-Con this summer. A joint press release from Starz and Sony was released where they confirmed that the 13-episode third season of Outlander will premiere in September, and the fans that get to Comic-Con will have first chance to get hyped for the upcoming season, where they are going to be, quote, offering fans a chance to experience more of this beloved series in person, unquote. I smell a debut. I say that facetiously, but I mean, Steve and Jesse know, if you're looking for debuts of your favorite, new episodes of your favorite shows, Comic-Con can get it 3 months in advance.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things I love about Comic-Con when it actually occurs. I can spend a little bit of time on the internet trying to find bootlegged videos of all the cool shit that I'm not going to be able to see in reality or any kind of clarity for several months.
You guys hear that? This is the person we need to beat the shit out of so they'll stop viewing the videos.
I make no apologies. That Tron footage when it first came out made me crap myself.
Yeah, and the Tron Returns when they came out made Disney crap themselves.
Diapers all around.
Tron. I love Tron Legacy. All right, moving on into our news. We got a bit. We actually have a list of the nominees for the third annual Dwayne McDuffie Award for Diversity in Comics, as it's been revealed to The Hollywood Reporter. This award is, of course, established to highlight the diversity both in creators and the creation, and was founded in 2015 to honor the late comic book and animation professional Dwayne McDuffie. The nominations are Upgrade Soul by Ezra Clayton Daniels, Shaft, The Imitation of Life by David Walker and Dietrich Smith, Amazing Forest by Ulysses Farinas, Eric Freitas, and more, Starhammer by J.N. Monk and Harry Bodgeson. I hope I pronounced that right. 14 Nights by Christina Sipetic. The winner will be announced. I don't either. The winner is scheduled to be announced in a ceremony February 18th, which actually is today. So I wonder if we could quickly look up the winner of the 3rd Annual Dwayne McDuffie Award.
No, Jesse, look up the winner of the 3rd Annual Dwayne McDuffie Award.
And while you're looking that up, I'm going to read the rest of this. I am pleased to once again welcome another group of outstanding work, and all of these remarkable creators to be forever associated with my late husband's name, and I look forward to seeing where our 2017 nominees' careers go from there, said Dwayne's widow, Charlotte Fullerton McDuffie. Everything they create from now on, they'll do attached to Dwayne's reputation for not just inclusiveness, but excellence. And please continue to do him proud in all ways, always. Now, while we're talking, Jesse, you got anything for me?
I'm seeing the nominees. I've not seen anything on winners yet.
Wow. Okay, so the ceremony is probably either happening right now or they just haven't passed the winners onto the internet yet.
If it's happening in California, I mean, what is it, like 8:15 right now over there?
Yes, it's now time for nighttime programming at Long Beach Comic-Con.
Yeah, it actually has not occurred yet.
Okay. So I'm sure that'll be part of next week's. We had a story a while ago about a storyline coming out in Valiant Comics called Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. The implication was that there may be some kind of reinstallation of the Eternal Warriors to Valiant's lineup. And as of this week, we found out it's true. They are debuting Eternal Warrior Awakening on May 10th. It's being done by Robert Venditti and Renato Guedes. They're going back to the earliest adventures of Gilead and Anapada, and is said to homage the first adventure of the Eternal Warrior from the 1990s. For those that do not know, the Eternal Warrior is an immortal soldier and general who has fought in Earth's greatest wars going back millennia. In this new standalone tale, he is in a period of his life where he has lost all of his memory and is remade by the environment and the people around him.
Well, I certainly hope that book does better than Venditti's last title, which was a Green Lantern title. In fact, I think he's still writing one of them, isn't he?
I do not know. I'm not very up on the current status of the Green Lantern titles. I've been kind of turned out by their books since The Blackest Night.
Blackest Night was awesome, but the Venditti book that I'm talking about was the New Gods that I was shitting on just a few minutes ago. That was his doing.
All right. Well, feel happy about that one then.
God, what cancer. Moving on. This next bit of news, Legally Blonde writer bringing her Goonies-inspired Misfit City to comic books. This bit of information is coming from Boom Studios, who are announcing Misfit City. It's an all-new monthly comic book coming from screenwriter Kirsten Kiwi Smith, who did Legally Blonde, 10 Things I Hate About You, and probably that Legally Blonde sequel, who knows.
What was that lady's name again?
Kirsten Kiwi Smith.
Always trust a lady named after fruit.
Well, the blurb on this particular project is, nothing's happened in Wilder's hometown since they filmed that cult kids adventure movie there in the 80s. But that's what ancient history. Until one day, she and her friends came upon a centuries-old treasure map drawn by an infamous pirate, Black Mary, and they find themselves on a real-life adventure into a town they dreamed of escaping. Wow. All right, Goonies.
You know what, though? Goonies can inspire a lot.
Apparently so, and apparently they inspired Kristen Kiwi Smith to rewrite the Goonies and put it into a comic book. Way to go, Boom. I hope you get your dollar's worth.
I sense a skeptic.
No, of course not. I'm a journalist. I remain... Nah, fuck this. This is garbage. Moving on.
You're as much a journalist as the Cheeto is a president, but that's all subjective. What do you guys remember the name Jayla?
She's always Jenny from the Block.
That's J-Lo. Do you remember who Jayla is?
No idea.
No.
Jayla was the albino alien that was introduced in Star Trek Beyond.
She was awesome.
Ah, okay.
She was played by Sophia Boutella, and for people who are fans of that particular character will be very happy. As of issue number 5 of Star Trek Boldly Go, IDW is not just introducing Jayla to their version of the Kelvinverse, but they are going to fill in some of her backstory before she arrived on that alien planet and was trapped by the members of Starfleet who were also marooned there. So they are finally going to fill in the backstory on this lady who arguably stole a lot of the film right under from Chris Pine.
She did. It was a great character. I'm really glad that they decided to keep her around. I mean, the last scene of Star Trek Beyond clearly indicated that she was going to be part of the crew. And
well, they indicated she was going to Starfleet. Whether or not the crew survives long enough for her to catch up is always subjective.
But the woman that see that movie, so that's why I'm clueless.
Well, the woman that played her is Sophia Boutella, which you may know as Gazelle from the Kingsman movie.
Which I also have not seen.
Oh my God! Do yourself a service.
You seem to be really
Kingsman.
Clueless, Casey, about how pop culture deficient they are.
You all are fired. We need some proper nerds up in this house.
Need people with money, apparently, and time.
Money? Nothing, man. I stayed in that car to get in the drive-in. I was in the trunk. Last up, when it comes to general comic news, they have fleshed out the background on Lord Drakon in the Power Rangers comics. Lord Drakon, a.k.a. the Black Dragon, a.k.a. Tommy from the alternative universe.
Ooh.
It turns out that the history of Lord Drakon is a little simpler than you would think. Because in the TV show, when the character of Tommy was introduced as the Green Ranger, he lost that sword that was making him evil that Rita Repulsa gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And after he lost the sword, he decided, after a little bit of trial and tribulation, he finally joined up with Zordon and the rest of the Rangers, and they created their Rainbow of Harmony, or whatever the hell happened on the show.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in the comic books, though, in this alternative universe anyway, when Tommy lost that green sword, he decided to continue following Rita Repulsa anyway.
Wait a minute. What didn't we talk something about this a couple of episodes ago?
Well, a couple of episodes ago was when they revealed that the Black Dragon was Tommy Oliver from their Goatee universe.
Ah, that's right.
So now they filled in a little bit of the story as to how he was created, and since in this universe he was following Rita, he still went on the adventures that eventually got him to the powers of the White Ranger, but since he was still an active Green Ranger with all the powers Rita gave him, he simply combined the two, eventually overpowered her, and was following her vision for saving the world under rulership.
Protecting the verse.
Yeah, basically he formed the new version of Cobra, except this one wins.
Oh, Tommy.
So if you were wondering how he could possibly turn evil, there it is.
When I was a kid, and Tommy was revealed to be the Green Ranger, and he kicked all kinds of ass. You know, you had all the Rangers; they all did their things, and they kicked an okay amount of ass. But whenever you had Tommy go in there, he kicked shit tons of ass. Me and my friend, we had a theory that every time that Tommy wasn't really on the screen, he was using an Uzi and mowing them all down, and then hiding it before the camera got back to him.
Interesting that he played the role of Tony Montana in this one.
Yeah, so we for years we would go on the idea that idea that's as badass as Tommy's Uzi.
But wasn't Jason David Frank in that show as Tommy? Wasn't he quintessentially 90s? Long dark hair and a ponytail, lots of leather bangles all over the place, green flannels like every other scene.
Well, yeah, I mean, they all had to be color-coded.
The only thing missing was a guitar, a pair of Converse, and he was just quintessentially the 90s teen.
Wasn't that all the characters in the show?
No, the rest of them dressed like a United Colors of Benetton ad.
And, of course, we got to wonder about what the producers were thinking about making Trini the Yellow Ranger and Zack the Black Ranger.
I'm guessing they were thinking, money, 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 money. So last up is our WTF Corner. Those are the stories from across the internet that apparently leave you with so little time you gotta leave right after the news is done. And next up we've got video game videos. Incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and the kinds of things that, can really make reality seem worth it sometimes. The first video we have is an Assassin's Creed video. It came from the channel of user Chris S. And I really wish the man would do a little bit of a better job naming his stuff, because he just had an Assassin's Creed Unity timestamp on it. And everything in it goes the way it's supposed to, with the exception of one item. He did nothing wrong in his gameplay, but the game played him. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
I sent the video.
That's a big-ass axe on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's really handy in the bath when you need to really scratch your back.
Back scratcher?
Back scratcher?
And looting.
Isn't it amazing how in the French Renaissance you could just leave bodies in the street and nobody seems to care?
Or, brandishing an axe. That's as big as your head.
And I'm sure you've noticed by now that extra icon on the screen, the purple Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
This is a co-op mission.
Okay.
There's 2 players running around, and there's Eagle Vision. He's trying to find a door into the catacombs. There's some kind of underground goal there.
Hey, there's some glowy bits.
Hey, that's personal. So, there's a door to the catacombs. So, somebody needs to pick the door, and so you call the assassin to do it. He should have the pick skills. But, suddenly he backs off it and stretches like Reed Richards.
Uh-huh.
I'll show you how talented I can pick this lock from here.
He goes again.
It's one of those videos that starts off so normally you almost forget there's a bug coming. The next video is from the newer game called Nioh. That is the Japanese-based demon hunting game. It's almost like a Japanese Dark Souls, really. I forget who makes it, but it's really been making the rounds online. It seems to be gaining popularity both critically and with fan circles. This video came from the channel of user EggSpinner32. Nothing fancy about his name, just EggSpinner32. The title of his video is Nioh Demon Door Glitch. It sounds like you should know what's about to happen, but it really gets strange. I sent the video. So you start off cutting the hell out of something in front of you.
Uh-huh.
I like his Oni mask there with the glowing horns.
Hello.
But the door wants to kill you.
Wow. That's a door. Yep.
Never sell vacuums here again.
No soliciting.
Is that a pizza?
Bring back my issue of Playboy. There, you seem to have advantage. You have the high ground on him, so we'll jump down to attack him. He backhands you, and you are out. Out of the cave. Out of the map. And falling 100 stories to your second doom.
Huh.
So you fall back into the map and take 75,000 in damage.
That wow.
Yeah, that's what you call going splat.
Yeah, you thought you had a plan.
Yes, your plan was going fine until your head was knocked out of your ass. I just love that the game at the end says freed from the mortal coil, and you just think, yeah, twice.
Red smear. There we go.
I have something that's becoming a favorite of mine, a Battlefield 1 video.
Okay.
This came from the channel of user Average AF, AVERAGEAF. He titled his video, and boy does it bury the lead, Playing Grenade Takedown.
Okay.
It's literally what it sounds like. I sent the video. You are on top of a Zeppelin with a sniper rifle, and there's a biplane coming. I can't hit him. Grenade. Oh my god, I got him!
Wow. That was multiple grenades. There was multiple people up on top of there. They all hit him with a grenade.
Yeah, but he's almost standing.
Yeah, it just seems so understated, though, when you're running across that Zeppelin, watching that plane go down in flames, and all it says is, vehicle destroyed. That's not the only thing that just happened, sir.
You should have tied that, killed a bird.
Yeah. And I got one more video for you. It's an Overwatch video.
Okay.
It is sort of an Overwatch video. I can't tell you what it is without completely ruining the surprise. But this was from the channel of Cyclops Dragon. 2 words put together, Cyclops Dragon.
Uh-huh.
The title of this video is, You Rhine Posted in the Wrong Neighborhood. It is an amazing mix-up. I sent the video.
Justice will be done.
Oh yeah, baby.
2 to the 5 to the 5 to the 3. I have found the enemy. Come and face me.
That's right. It's a music video, baby. The amount of work in this is almost immeasurable.
I
mean, it sounds easy to just link phrases, but when you're trying to time it with music, dear God.
I'm escorting the payload. Let's keep it moving. I feel certain in the morning. I need armor. More armor. I need armor. More armor.
Next up after this is Reinhardt's rendition of Moves Like Junkrat.
I wonder if you can actually get this in front of the voice actor and he would actually just say it outright right there.
Are you kidding? He seems to appear at half the comic book conventions I go to. I bet I could find him.
That's already on my favorites right now.
Okay, further on in WTF, I got to talk about a story that I'm sure a lot of people are very aware of this week, but it does bear talking about because it involves a lot of the cross-sections of geek culture. And that is the sudden fall of PewDiePie.
Oh, I've been trying to avoid that story all week.
I've been curious about it only because PewDiePie is arguably one of the people who pioneered monetizing YouTube as a full-time job. You know, he figured out how to be a commentator on things, and just being a commentator was enough to garner enough fans to garner monetization, and this is all he does now.
And
as we know,
families
he's one
in
of the
2 countries.
Yes, and he's one of the major partners of YouTube Red, or he was until this week. The reason why he's suddenly been disgraced is because he put out a recent video on January 11th where he paid 2 black guys to hold up a sign, dance around and laugh, and the sign read, "Death to all Jews."
What?
Death to all Jews. You know, and you would... I understand that being irreverent and being politically incorrect is kind of his thing because, after all, it's the internet, and 2/3 of the people who are trying to be entertaining on the internet just decide that being irreverent and rude is the way to go. However, when you're partnered with Maker Studios, which is now a division of the Disney Corporation as of 2014, you do need to understand your limits when you're connected to a major media conglomerate. And
okay.
It is a... I mean, what he did in this day and age, I wouldn't even call shocking anymore. I would just call it...
Stupid.
It's an unfortunate word, but I can just say ignorant.
I'm still going with stupid.
But he partnered with Maker Studios, which was bought out by Disney in 2014 for $675 million. And after PewDiePie threatened to leave Maker Studios in 2016, Maker hung on to him by partnering with him so he could create his own entertainment network called Revel Mode. Revel Mode was supposed to give PewDiePie and his friends a platform to create videos, games, apps, and merchandise. A spokeswoman for Maker Studios said, quote, "Although Felix has created a following by being provocative and irreverent, clearly he went too far in this case and the resulting videos are inappropriate," unquote. Which is a duh statement, frankly. But, you know, I don't know what else can really be said in this case other than, you know, well, I guess I can say that PewDiePie did issue an apology later this past week to his credit. However, at the same time he apologized, he also slammed the Wall Street Journal for some reason. I haven't bothered to read that particular leg of the story because I can only imagine that part of it was him thinking that the Wall Street Journal was being unfair to him somehow because, after all he did was have 2 people make fun of an entire religion by holding up the "Death to all Jews" sign. And
it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, we were just talking about Mel Gibson earlier in the show. What is the point? I mean, I've never watched any of his stuff, so I have no idea if he has any kind of hatred or, you know, prejudice against Jewish people or any. But it's like, you know, why? Why even do this? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. And I wish I had something more positive to say. I don't watch PewDiePie videos because I'm not much into commentary videos, but he had my respect until recently only because, as I said, he was one of the first that found a new way to make money just by being an entertainer. And for him to suddenly find this road, I find it incredibly sad.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand why he thought it was a good idea to even, do this.
I can't comment. Steve especially, maybe Jesse knows that one of my favorite movies growing up as a child, and this is going to sound very odd, was Big Trouble in Little China.
Love that movie.
The movie was by James Cameron, I think? No. John Carpenter. It's a John Carpenter film, sorry.
Okay.
And John Carpenter, every movie he makes is essentially a Western, regardless of what setting it is. And because of an anniversary that's upcoming for the movie... Oh, no, sorry. Recently, IO9 and Cheryl Eddy uncovered what they call 12 things you might not know about Big Trouble in Little China. And I usually don't share this type of list with you guys simply because it's not generally comic book related, unless you count, of course, the recent Big Trouble in Little China series that's been put out. But it turns out that most of the things that was in this list I was truly unaware of. Number one, the movie's original setting was 1890 San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah, this was literally supposed to be a Western. The original, before the rewrite by W.D. Richter, Jack Burton was originally a cowboy, and he spent the entire movie trying to recover his favorite horse, not a truck. The original title of this Western, though, Big Trouble in Little China, was kept all the way to the big screen version. Item number 2, there was a reason why the truck was called the Pork Chop Express.
Why?
What would you think that reason is?
I don't know. I mean, they had the symbol of the pig on it, but...
Well, let me put it this way. The first couple scenes when he's driving that truck into San Francisco, it's crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. According to the script, it's full of pigs. That trailer is full of pigs. And in addition to that, the big sandwich that Kurt Russell is stuffing his mouth in between CB radio rants is a ham sandwich. So apparently Jack Burton has a serious thing with pigs. One of the things I noticed when I was watching that movie as a kid was that Jack Burton, or Kurt Russell, had really large, insane leather boots in that movie. They were really easy to pick out because they just stuck out compared to the jeans and tank top he was always wearing. Turns out, item number 3 is that those boots were Kurt Russell's own idea.
Really?
Yeah, Kurt Russell had a hand in selecting his character's wardrobe, and he had Jack Burton's, quote, funky high-top moccasins specially made in Aspen at a shop he happened to know about. Custom boots. Dennis Dunn played Wang in the movie. He was arguably the hero while Jack Burton was the sidekick.
Right.
Can you believe Dennis Dunn's agent advised him not to join this film?
Really?
Yeah, he was offered a part... Go ahead.
Racist or what?
No, actually he was offered a part in a TV movie that was filming at the same time, so he had to choose, and his agent advised him to play it safe and pass on the bizarre-sounding movie.
What was the TV? What was the other project?
Never specified, but apparently Dennis Dunn decided that Big Trouble in Little China was a way to go because he was a huge Buckaroo Banzai fan, and this movie felt like that to him. Get this, and this was one of the most frightening things. You remember the 3 storms in the movie?
Yes.
Rain. He was the skinny one with the dual swords, the long hair.
Mm-hmm.
The actor who played Rain had no idea he was in a comedy.
Really?
Yeah, Peter Kwong was the guy who played Rain. He told the authors of a recent book about the film that he thought Big Trouble in Little China was a, quote, action-adventure with a mysterious ghost story, unquote. It wasn't until he filmed his last fight scene and Dennis Dunn did that over-the-top eyebrow raise that he realized this movie is a fucking comedy. And the wig he wore in the movie was not his own long hair, but it was an expensive wig. It cost over $3,000.
Wow.
Damn. $3,000 back then? Oh, shoot.
Yep. Dennis Dunn, again, he played Wang Chi in the film. He also, according to item number 6, named his daughter after his favorite co-star in the film. Apparently, Dunn was inspired by his experiences working with Victor Wong. Victor Wong played Egg Shen in those movies.
Interesting.
And he had such a friendship with the man that when he eventually had a daughter, Dennis named his daughter Victoria in Victor Wong's honor.
Huh.
They had a friendship that spanned both before and after this film. Dunn and Wong had plays together in San Francisco's Asian American Theater. Then they made 3 movies together in 3 years. Year of the Dragon in 1985, Big Trouble in Little China in 1986, and The Prince of Darkness in 1987. I wonder if these guys ever shared an apartment. This sounds like a sitcom. Kim Cattrall in the film, she played Gracie Law, Jack Burton's love interest. She apparently was in serious pain for this film.
Really?
Yeah, item number 7 is that Kim Cattrall suffered for her green eyes. She had painfully hard contact lenses she had to insert 15 minutes before going on camera because that's how long it took for her eyes to stop watering when they put those contacts in.
Wow.
Item number 8 also has to do with Gracie Law because it turns out she has a tragic backstory that we never heard. A paragraph of exposition cut from the film, when a character is talking about their histories rather than it being shown to you.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out Gracie Law was born in China but was shipped back to the States after her missionary parents were massacred.
Ooh.
That's the only item that was ever mentioned about her parentage, and it was removed from the script before filming. Makes me curious what exactly happened to her parents. Sounds like fate was just really unkind to her. Item number 9 is that the Wild Man was a bit of a diva. You don't know what the Wild Man is, I assume?
No.
Remember that hopping ape demon that was seen several times in the film?
Yes, okay. The one
That's the Wild Man.
At the end. Okay.
Yeah. The stuntman who donned the costume is never named in the book, and the reason is apparently he was a pain in the ass to work with. The stuntman hated the Wild Man suit because it's cumbersome, it had elongated arms, and it made it impossible for him to do anything while he was in costume. He also couldn't see because it turns out his head was below the head of the Wildman costume.
Okay.
He didn't like the idea of jumping through a hole in a hallway in one scene because he couldn't see until additional padding, including a mattress, was added to break his fall. The stuntman refused to walk in the manner the creature creator had in mind. The costume is designed so that the person inside it would walk on their tiptoes, so it would walk like the Wolfman. Instead, the stuntman was just kind of jumping and hopping around.
Well, it just sounds like, they were like, oh yeah, this would be awesome, and the stuntman's like, not practical.
I'm not going to say what exactly happened because it sounds like the stuntman wasn't available for the interview for this book.
Yeah.
Item number 10, The Guardian was hard and expensive to make. The Guardian was that multi-eyed Cthulhu-looking thing. It looked kind of like a beholder in the movie.
Oh, right.
Apparently, that creature, the Guardian, was the most difficult thing I was asked to create, according to special effects legend Screaming Mad George. It took over 60 artists and engineers to put it together because of all the moving parts. And that one creature cost over $100,000 in production.
Wow.
According to the book, visual effects producer Richard Edlund kept one of the ghoulish green eyes, because of course everything special in this movie has green eyes, as a souvenir, but the rest of the Guardian's been lost to time, so it sounds like it was just never taken care of post-production. Makes me wonder which of the green eyes he kept, because that thing was covered in eyes.
Yeah. Probably the one on its tongue.
I was going to guess the one in its mouth, the gigantic orb one.
Yeah, the one on its tongue.
Well, there were two different scenes. There was the small one on the end of its tongue, but the scene beforehand had this gigantic orb eye in its mouth.
That's true.
Looked like it was the size of a softball. Item number 11 was that making Lopan's glowing skull was strangely easy. Remember the transformation scene when when James Hong was going from old man David Lopan in the wheelchair to Lopan in the wheelchair and stood up? His head kind of pulsated, his skull seemed to glow, or something glowed from beneath his skull. Turns out they managed to get that pretty quickly. What they did was they created a bust of Hong that was covered in a clear, flexible skin, painted to look like him as an old man. Then they faded the lights outside of the bust while turning up the lights inside the bust. And they managed to finish the scene in just one take. Even in the 80s, that's a lucky pull.
Yeah.
And the last item number 12, turns out there's an Easter egg in the film. it's not an important Easter egg. It's not like, look, that's the Human Torch. But when Lightning dies in the film, when they drop that Buddhist statue on him from a story up,
yeah,
he's crushed, he falls to the ground, and then lightning just kind of coalesces around the hole he fell through. Yeah, it curls up, it seems to make something, and then pops, right?
Uh-huh.
Turns up, what it makes before it pops is Chinese characters that say, Carpenter. The creator of the film.
Huh.
I never would have known that. So, I just had to share that list, because I was suitably entertained when I read it. Further on in WTF, there are some times where you hear about crooks who do it right.
Brooklyn.
Right.
Erkin Findagoglu, again 36, he posted an image with a pile of cash after doing one of the what was called the most brazen bank robberies in history. According to Secret Service agent Scott Serafin, he was a mastermind behind a ring that took millions of dollars from ATMs just in New York City. From Turkey, Findagoglu would hack into computers of international banks, he would steal account information, and then send ATM numbers to criminal gangs around the world he recruited online. Then he would hack in again and remove all withdrawal limits from the accounts.
Ooh. Wow.
So that means as long as there was money in the account, people could go with the information he gave them and just remove as much money as they wanted from the ATMs. Apparently on surveillance cameras, gang members were seen hitting machines in Tokyo, to London, to New York. And they would empty ATMs with just one card. Multiple transactions, according to Secret Service agent Ken Primo. Quote, put the card in, put your pins in, take out the limit, put your card in, put in your pin, take out your limit, unquote.
Wow.
And back in Turney, Findagoglu was monitoring all of it. Primo continues to say, quote, he was watching so he could tell who was withdrawing how much so that he'd know how much money he was supposed to get back, unquote.
Covering his bases.
Dude, the first hit they were aware of...
Yeah,
the first hit they were aware of was February of 2011, where they netted $10 million through 15,000 transactions in 18 countries. By the end of it, they assumed that that Findagoglu was responsible for the withdrawal of $55 million in funds from different ATMs.
Damn.
And most of the money still hasn't been recovered, according to the Secret Service, because it was withdrawn as cash. It's untraceable. Apparently, by the third round of ATM robberies, Findagoglu had figured out which ATMs carried the most cash and instructed his teams to hit those first. Findagoglu is currently in the U.S. He was extradited in 2015, and he's going to spend the next 8 years in jail, and then he's being deported. Might as well just hang him upside down till he tells you where the money is. And last up in WTF, I have a sad WTF.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
And this all has to do with one package. One package, and everything goes to hell. There's a Super Nintendo emulator developer and game archivist. He's known as BYU. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
BYUU. With the help of a man in Europe, he would archive hundreds of Super Nintendo games, some of which are extremely rare. So, BYU's plan was to digitally preserve all games ever released for the Super Nintendo, regardless of region. So that tells you how big of a project this is, right?
Yeah.
He purchased 725 Super Nintendo games sold in the U.S. That set him back $10,000. So after digitally preserving that set, he sold it, and then the proceeds went to an additional $10,000. The proceeds of the sale, plus an additional $10,000 of his own money, went to purchase all 1,450 Super Nintendo games in Japan. Okay?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
The next step in this was to obtain and archive all games from PAL regions: Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America, and Oceania. But BYU was low on money from buying all the other games so far, so he was supposed to receive hundreds of games from a European collector who goes by Smart Human, 100 at a time, and then send them back when he was done archiving. So he sent the first shipment, no problem. On January 5th, another package containing 100 PAL games were sent for a digital dump, and the U.S. Postal Service has either lost or stolen this package.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
100 PAL games, which is expensive. And according to a recent post by BYU, the U.S. Postal Service is saying they just can't locate the package, and they've told him to visit his local post office. And he managed to track the package to Jersey City, where all leads on the package have ended. And unfortunately, there was so much money tied up in this particular package that the project to catalog all Super Nintendo games digitally has died.
Damn.
The total value assumed in the package was somewhere between $7,500 and $10,000 in games.
Did he?
That's because PAL games are the most
or shipping insurance.
Either they didn't get it, or shipping insurance just doesn't cover that much. Generally, you can insure packages up to about $3,000, I think. Other than that, you have to buy special insurance. And when I say special, I mean non-U.S. Post Office. You got to insure that through a third party. The reason why this package was so expensive is because PAL games are some of the most valuable to collectors. Some of the most costly that were known in this box: Castlevania 4, Castlevania Vampire's Kiss, First Samurai, The Fireman's, Demon Crest, Mega Man 7, Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, Mega Man X3, Ninja Warriors, and Incantation. The reason why they've been working so hard on this, even though you can find some of these games on Virtual Console, is that it's been pointed out that some of the games on Virtual Console are copies or revisions, so they are not the original games. So, unfortunately, this project is done. And that's got to be heartbreaking when you're moving along so well on it, and you're putting in your own money, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
Moving on to something a little happier. The subject of the week is our idea for a Man of Steel sequel. This is not a comic book storyline. When we were on our way to Great American Comic-Con in 2016, I had told the other two while we were driving through Vegas of my potential idea for a Man of Steel sequel, which actually seemed to get gears moving, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I kind of hopped on that really quickly.
I worked up the idea not because I was trying to supplant or demigrate the DC Cinematic Universe. I tried to add an idea for a Man of Steel sequel. Not officially, this was just kicking around ideas anyway, that would be fresh, interesting, and somehow fit into the current universe that DC's currently set. And the original bones of the story felt like something that could actually be special. I guess I should just start by laying out the bare bones of what I had put together?
Yeah.
Okay, so my idea so far was that Bruce Wayne intercepts a military communication. They're aware of an object, something super large, that seems to be passing by the edge of the solar system, and there's also some kind of garbled transmissions coming from it that they can't quite decode. And, of course, Bruce Wayne, being Bruce Wayne, is aware of this transmission, and he cannot investigate it himself because the Batplane doesn't get that far. So he asks Superman, and I can only assume is not yet. I'm sure that's coming. He asks Superman, who I assume post-Justice League is going to be resurrected anyway, to investigate it. Especially because part of the transmission he has been able to decode has to do with something on this object called the Last Kryptonian, which is just going to pique Blue Boy's interest even more. So, I haven't quite figured out the mode of transportation. I can only assume by this point Superman's capable of flying out past Pluto to investigate. And he finds Warworld. Fans of DC Comics will be familiar that Warworld is run by Mongol. And I guess you could say an intergalactic despot with a mobile planet. And he is...
murder show.
Right. He is physically as strong as Superman, can't fly, doesn't have heat beams, but he's incredibly resilient and powerful. Anyway, I hadn't quite worked out how he gets onto the planet, but Mongol runs gladiator fights, and part of it has to do with his Last Kryptonian. And I hadn't worked out all the beats yet, but I figured at some point, Clark is going to have the opportunity to talk to this person who's beaten, cowed, and gone through a lot of fights at this point. And this being reveals to him that he's not a Kryptonian. He's a Daxamite. His name is Mon-El. He's part of the world that is full of cousins of Kryptonians. And he's sorry to disappoint him, but if he wants the Kryptonian, he's got to get up in the palace. And that Kryptonian's name is Kara.
Kara Zor-El?
Yeah. And I know a lot of people are thinking, so this is where you're introducing Supergirl. That wasn't quite the idea I had. I just wanted to introduce the character. I didn't want to just fall into the usual trope of, well, you've rescued me, so obviously I have to save lives like you. No, I wanted to go a completely different direction. Because the ideas I had in my head is that Kara's in this weird area of Stockholm Syndrome. She she's accepted her life as a captive, but has also been given a level of freedom. You know, the palace he's directed to isn't Mongol's palace, it's Kara's palace on Warworld. It's her safe haven isn't the right word, but at least her seat of power on the planet. Not to say she runs it, she's one of Mongol's prized possessions. And she is not really hip to just suddenly running away with this other Kryptonian. I mean, that's about as far as I got in the initial concept, and to me, that felt like it would actually fit in with what Zack Snyder's done to DC so far, as well as I don't want to say a brand new story, but at least a new telling involving familiar characters. And if you guys got any early opinions, I'll hear it, because this is just my idea so far.
No. I actually thought it was an interesting idea, so I started kicking ideas between you, and we kind of went
exactly
crazy with it.
I couldn't tell if you found it interesting or not, because the first couple minutes after I said that, you just kind of sat in the passenger seat of the car, stroking your goatee like you were missing a white cat. You just kind of sat there.
It got my ears rolling. So, but I thought it was, I think somewhere along the way you decided we could probably bring in Lobo into this.
That wasn't my idea. That was because I posted this idea online, and somebody we both know, Jacarl, he said that sounds really cool. If you could put Lobo in this, I will spend the $18.
Yeah, I remember reading that post. But I thought, yeah.
Oh, that's great. You read his responses and not my post. You frickin' bastard.
I read your damn post. I didn't know what to add to it, though.
I guess the expanded idea was we could insert Lobo as a recruiter for the Gladiator games, and I use recruiter in the loosest possible term.
He's effectively still a bounty hunter.
Yeah. You know, he works for money. That's always been Lobo's nom de guerre, even when he turned into a skinny bastard for a little while.
Yeah, but we started...
Nom de guerre. That's a completely wrong term for that.
Yeah, but we started rolling ideas with the characters, like... We had to make him quintessential 90s, like, all the way through.
Well, that's the fun thing about Lobo, was that he is just an aggregate asshole from beginning to end. You know, even when he does something supposedly pragmatic and nice, it's only because he can get something out of it.
Yep. We had ideas for his bike. God damn, that was a fun thing to make with his bike.
I don't know about that. After I thought about it, I'm just like, wow, that made it even more 90s. I don't know if I want to get into that. But, you know, I guess I kind of dug the idea that for Kara Zor-El, or the character that would, in the cinematic universe, be known as Supergirl eventually, that we didn't just start with a superhero origin story. We started with her introduction. You know, too many of these stories, when they introduce characters, the first thing they do is put on spandex and immediately start stopping crimes. And that just felt a little too quick, so I tried to come up with something a little bit, I don't want to use the term darker, because that's what Zack Snyder always tries to do with his characters, but it is what it is. It was a darker telling of her potential origin.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what do you guys think is missing from this?
I'm going to be an able to say details, but...
Thank you.
Actually, I can't tell you what was missing, because, again, it's a matter of specific details and dialogue that, you know, I generally tend to focus on. But I had a weird idea as when you presented this assignment to us. And I kind of think, like, instead of Bruce Wayne
how about we start with the necessary steps?
Okay.
Okay. I mean, so what agency in either the military or DC universe do you think would be the ones to find this information or find this transmission to which Bruce Wayne has an electronic backdoor into?
Anyone who is pioneering aeronautics or space travel, or just looking out into space. So I don't think Wayne Enterprises would be in that market per se.
Well, when I said Wayne got the information, I meant he got it because he's bugged someone else's system. Not because Bruce Wayne is sitting there staring into space thinking, I'd really like to go there.
They show it in Man of Steel. Ferris something? Ferris Air?
Ferris Air? They're an aeronautics developer. I don't think they'd be the right people. I mean, if you're looking for fictional agencies that often have their beaks into too much information, that usually goes hand in hand with like Project Cadmus or Checkmate.
Yeah, Cadmus probably. Yeah, Cadmus maybe.
Cadmus's function depends on which version of DC you're talking about. If you're talking about the Supergirl TV series, they're an anti-alien agency. If you're talking about the comic book, sometimes they're a technology developer and broker. Sometimes they're an information company. Sometimes they're just off their wall and insane.
Or maybe just Bug SETI.
Bug who?
SETI. That's a real-life organization that scopes out for life out in space.
It could be.
Center for Extraterrestrial something.
Okay. The one thing I assumed in this story is it's not like the military could ask Batman for help because he doesn't make his Rolodex readily available.
No.
And something tells me with everything else that goes on in Gotham, Commissioner Gordon just won't give a shit. Really great, you got a transmission. Could you stop the Joker, please? I guess Cadmus would be the most likely individuals this could come from.
Does it really have to be someone of that nature?
Not necessarily. But I guess it would also have to be the kind of thing that would have to be stuck in a bureaucracy for a little bit. The military machine in DC seems a little too fast and loose with everything that happens when you consider how they've reacted to Superman, how quickly they got on the Kryptonian thing, and what they've done in Belle Reve Prison to date.
Yeah.
They play it fast and loose.
So, yeah, probably a military contractor then, I guess.
Wouldn't it be funny if he got this information from a LexCorp server?
I could see LexCorp servers monitoring this shit.
That would actually make sense at this point, with Luthor in jail and unavailable to capitalize on his information. Oh, and Bruce Wayne actually hacked his system already, so...
Yep.
That would actually make the most sense. Oh my god, that's story development. Okay, so would Superman fly his happy self there, or would he have some other form of locomotion?
Have they showed the Fortress of Solitude, right? It's been so long since I said the movie.
Ooh, ow, dude. I'm actually a little bit split on that. I don't think so. He's wandered into the Arctic Circle several times, but I don't think he's created anything out there.
Wait a minute.
No, it was the ship.
Right. Yeah. What did he do with that ship from the...
It got blowed up.
I think that scout ship was crashed into something.
Well...
It's hard to remember. This Man of Steel to me was such an unremarkable film.
I mean, when you gave us this assignment, I had a particular idea I was grinding on. I'm hesitant.
I like that you keep calling it an assignment. You make it sound like I'm sitting in front of a blackboard with words written on it.
I'm trying to be professional, but
your essay should have 1,000 words or less.
This idea, I had an idea rolling in the back of my mind, but I'm hesitant to reveal it only because we want to keep the story concise.
Okay.
But the idea was a backdoor idea for Green Lantern. And the idea comes from Ferris Aeronautics developed a ship, and they had two prototypes. One's already out there, and they have a backup ship.
Okay, so how would they get this backup ship?
They have it in their hangar?
No. How would Superman and or Batman get this ship?
Batman's got bugs everywhere, so he probably knows the ship.
I know he's aware it exists. How do they get it? How do they procure it?
What can really stop Superman from getting anything, to be honest?
So we're talking theft.
Well, Superman isn't the truth, justice, and the American way Superman anyway, so...
I understand that, but, I mean, the initial description you're giving me here is that Superman essentially flies into the hangar, looks at all the people, lifts up the ship, and just says, "Mine!" and takes off. You know, even the Superman in this universe does have his limits.
Yeah.
And I don't mean physical ones, I mean mental ones. He doesn't really seem to be into stealing. All he's into is murdering anybody who touches Lois.
Mine!
So how would he get this ship? Would he steal it? Would Ferris Air be bought out by Wayne Enterprises all of a sudden?
That could possibly happen, I suppose.
Maybe not bought out, but go into a what's the term I'm looking for?
Partnership?
Yeah, there we go. And have it lent out. I don't know.
I think if you want to keep the story a little more streamlined, it'd be easier if Kent just flew his own happy ass out there. Because it's been shown he can survive in space in the movies thus far.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it shows he thrives in space sometimes from death.
Well,
he did die twice in that movie.
Well, it's got unfiltered UV radiation, so...
Yeah. A lot of people forget he died twice in that movie. And I died so many times watching that movie. So where would Lobo come into the story at if he is the recruiter for the Gladiator Games? I can't imagine that Superman would get close enough to actually lay eyes on individuals on Warworld before he's intercepted somehow.
It has to be en route. En route, and I think for cinematic, I think the best place to do it is when they are in the asteroid belt, because you can just have some real fun with that, with the zero-G physics.
Oh, maybe. That or outside Saturn, Lobo just grabs Superman by the nape of the neck and drags his face across the rings.
Yeah, somewhere past somewhere where all the gas giants are at. But I think you get more impact in the asteroid belt.
Sorry, you just said somewhere where all the gas giants are at. My first thought was, ooh, Wisconsin. Take him to Detroit. Sorry. No, I mean, actually, Jupiter might be an entertaining backdrop only because you could vary the locales due to the number of moons. There's like 16 of them, if I remember correctly.
Have it be funny if I was gonna say knock one of the moons out of their orbit, but I think that would be a bit much.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to get wacky about it, yeah, Lobo could punch Superman down to one of the moons, and instead of landing on the ground, he bounces a couple times and suddenly knocks over this 3x2x1 black object.
Actually, I think there's one planet where he just hit him so hard. He goes down there and I think it's Europa? Yeah, that's the water moon. It's one of the moons that has water on it.
Or he's hit so hard he goes through the moon, and there's this guy with purple skin going, "My lawn!" So, how would Lobo subdue Superman? Because choking him with his chain wouldn't work out there, and that just sounded like Liam Neeson sexual for a second there.
I guess I'm guessing he would, as low tech as Lobo is, he had some kind of compared to assisting him.
It would be kind of entertaining if he near drowned him in some of the icy waters in Europa. Hit him hard enough, they punch through the surface of that ice. It's got to be like feet thick.
Maybe miles thick.
Conceivably. There would be something rather impressive about the visual of Lobo choking him underwater while he's trying to do everything so he can get away and breathe. Heat vision can't work because you can't see him. I almost said that he lets out his super breath, but I keep forgetting how ridiculous even I think that concept is. Could be kind of cool, though. And then when he wakes up on Warworld, there's got to be some kind of red sun generators, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Part of the reason I came up with this concept is I get tired of films where Superman's main problem is not Lex Luthor, it's not Brainiac, it's not even the Nuclear Man, it's Kryptonite.
Nuclear Man, wow.
I know. There's so many people right now who goes, I don't know what comic book that's from. Neither do I.
Watch the 4th installment of the original Superman movies.
Or in second thought, don't.
But it would probably have to be some kind of wearable device, because you wouldn't want to constantly bathe Warworld in this red glow, I would imagine.
Well, without access to the sun, he won't be able to reabsorb the energy.
Yeah, but I believe the red sun actually actively interferes and would drain him.
It doesn't drain him, but it supplants the UV from a yellow sun.
Because the other thing is, if they plan on having him do gladiatorial fights, you don't want to completely, get rid of his powers. You just want it enough that he's, controllable.
That's why I say it would have to be some kind of wearable, either emitter or injector. Think like the Domination Disc from the Planet Hulk storyline.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're going to have the storyline where Kara is also on this planet, yeah, you wouldn't want to constantly bathe it in red light because that would piss her off.
Yeah, you could make it as a set of bracers, actually.
Oh, that would be something. It would probably have to be closer to a harness, because if it's gladiatorial games, you wouldn't want to make it a bracer, because that's the first thing you do is try and get it busted. Go ahead, hit me here. After all, if you throw one block with something strong enough, that thing would be cracked at the very least.
I was trying to think of...
I mean, part of me wants to say choker, but that's almost a cliche in and of itself.
Yeah, it is. I was like, braces were an option. I think the harness would probably be the best, a la like He-Man type harness.
Well, if you really want to jack with his life, you make it a subdermal item.
Yeah.
Beneath the skin.
Then it poses the question, how does he get rid of it in the end?
Therein is the question. But, I mean, shouldn't that be the way it's designed, though, so that it's something that is difficult to get rid of?
I guess. So, something in, put it in the middle of his back.
Oh, that'd be perfect, actually. Like right next to his spine or something.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to get that busted by an opponent is catastrophic injury. Go ahead, break it.
And that way we could have a shirtless Superman now. Damn it.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate way for Lobo to subdue everything, is that they've got these injectable items, something that can be jammed underneath the skin that starts emitting different forms of radiation until it weakens its target? Holy crap! That almost put itself together. That was kind of fun. It's not a fully fleshed out concept, but I'm not a screenwriter, for frick's sake.
Yeah, but you know what? Would you leave Lobo in charge of that, or leave, someone as crazy and random as Lobo, or would you leave someone you can trust to manage and not kill the guys?
You can trust him just fine as long as you keep paying him. That's one thing about Lobo. When he takes a contract, he fulfills it.
I guess.
As long as we're still talking about crazy 90s Lobo, anyway. The skinny one I can't speak to.
I don't think anyone's going to speak.
He was more of an assassin, I think, than a bounty hunter, with the way they redesigned him.
So how would Superman meet Mon-El? Would it be between fights, or would they have to fight each other first? That might be wicked. He comes all this way to find the last Kryptonian, and then he has to fight him in the middle of the ring.
I would think he just to play with him. I think, I'm not sure if it's Lobo or Mongol would do it, but they'll parade him out on the outer edge of the arena, saying, "This is what your life is going to be now." And he sees what's his name in there.
I don't know if it'd be quite that simple, because they would need a few minutes to talk. So that tells me it'd be between fights at the very least.
Yeah, but you want to do something that's not almost a words today. Something that's like done over and over again in this type of scenario, and it's not sure what it would be.
I would think he would probably try to talk to him, but I don't think Mon-El would be too hip to talk, and it would be one of those cases where eventually they would have to face each other. One would have to beat the other into near submission before he would find out the truth. I'm not saying it'd be anything quite as bad as now you kill him, and that's when Superman throws down his axe, and suddenly he's beat up by the primary guard of the film. I don't know, Starfire or something stupid like that.
Mm.
But
well, that'd be interesting to throw a tambourine in there.
maybe as part of it, as like an inside Easter egg or joke or something.
Yeah.
But I guess the ultimate Easter egg would be getting a Demon of Astorath in it, but trust would have to be earned in that situation, because I'm sure if Mon-El's been there long enough to become a featured fighter, his will is thoroughly broken.
Well, maybe not featured fighter. Maybe it's like a free-for-all brawl. Like multiple fighters at once.
Well, it could be the fact that, because you've got this guy, you figure he's a Kryptonian, but here you've been advertising the last Kryptonian, but you still need to know what he's capable of, so he's the guy that you use as, like, the trainer.
Well, I was saying that the idea of the last Kryptonian isn't necessarily that they were being fooled or lied to, it's false advertising. They're aware they have a Daxamite, but they're selling him as the last Kryptonian because they're making money off it.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that, but even still, here now you have another Kryptonian. You don't have he's not the last Kryptonian. You've got Kara, sitting over there too. So, but they need somebody to introduce people to the prize fights.
A master of ceremonies?
Someone to break the newbie in.
Oh, that could be a number of things, though.
Right. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Shoot. Wouldn't be sad if the first thing you had to fight was somebody with a Starro on their face.
I'm starting to realize this is starting developing like Planet Hulk a bit.
Well, it's not like Planet Hulk was a new story when it came out.
Yeah.
It was just a well-told story. But I guess my vision for when Clark first encounters Kara is that she doesn't just not want to leave, but she is power-tripping a bit. She envisions herself as the Queen of Warworld. Not its absolute ruler, but a High Lord of it at the very least. She's grown to enjoy her captivity, I guess would be the right phrase for it.
She's now a willing participant.
Mm-hmm. And not as a fighter, she sits on her throne.
As the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
No.
Absolutely. Well, she wears Keds and a sideways hat, and it's totally 80s in there.
Actually, I was kind of thinking it's like maybe she's standing or sitting next to Mongol as these fights are going on.
I didn't want to do that because that would that would give away the surprise. I always pictured her as just enjoying her life in her little section of Warworld, in her castle, in her tower, whatever kind of setting you want to put it on. Something that Clark Kent is not aware of until he's actually led to that room.
Then what does she do in the meantime?
Enjoys a lavish lifestyle. Because she's not even though she considers herself a High Lord of Warworld, she's still nothing more than a prize.
And what does
Mongol, anyway.
And then what does Mongol do with his prizes? Hide it away, or does he parade it out?
Hide it away. I don't think you want to parade her out, because if she gets too far, she may get high and mighty and actually start throwing punches. Because the other thing I had in mind in this was that Kara has been on this planet that's been cruising the star systems for a while, so she has soaked up a lot of radiation. At this point, she could probably be more powerful than Superman. And she ended up on this planet because we changed the story, or I changed the story, in my mind at least, to her rocket never made it to Earth. It was accidentally intercepted. Because how can you predict a mobile planet?
Yeah. Well, my thought is, like, Mongol's supposed to be, I might be using the wrong term here, megalomaniac?
He's a despot.
And narcissistic as hell, correct?
Well, most despots are narcissistic to different degrees.
So he's the kind of person that would show off his power, show off his wealth and conquests.
No, he would show off his personal power, not his conquests.
Okay.
In most versions of Warworld, half the reason why he would do the fights is to distract people from the actual problems on the planet.
Right, okay.
Because Warworld is a powerful place, it's not exactly a thriving place. I wonder what kind of guards would be in this palace. I imagine there would be some, but not enough to fully restrict her.
I would imagine either some, randomings or, robotic sentries. Something that, Mongol easy control.
Yeah, that would make sense.
You could probably use practical effects for them. Want to CG them.
Yeah. I mean, I just had half an idea pop into my head that she enjoys sitting in her throne room because it has a yellow UV emitter in it, so that she could stay relatively charged up on this world without running around the planet and using up her abilities. That would also make it a focus point for escape, too. If Superman wanted to get away, he would have to get to that emitter for quite a while.
Oh, that requires someone actually understanding their biology.
Yeah. Well, Kryptonians weren't exactly a secret.
Huh?
Kryptonians weren't exactly a secret.
Okay.
And given the mobile nature of Warworld and the technology on it, I'm sure they could figure that out by themselves.
Yeah,
let alone if they got let alone if they have a Daxamite too.
All right, yeah, I forgot their sister planet to Krypton.
Yeah, same star system, I think.
Yeah, planet was called Argon, I think.
Argon? No, their planet was called Daxam.
Really?
Yeah, Argo was a city on Krypton.
Okay.
Yeah, there was Argo City on Krypton. But that was a Supergirl storyline from the 1986 movie? God, my nerd is old. I guess the question that's left to be determined is how exactly would they get to the finale, because you know that everything would have to go through Mongol.
It's a matter of getting the motivations down for all these characters and what can Superman do to convince her to turn against Mongol.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since she's apparently living the good life.
I had pictured that as hubris. Because, I don't know, he could monologue like a classic supervillain, but I always pictured him or Mongol making a slip by calling Kara just a prize. Or just his belonging, which would kind of send her off her rocker.
I could see that happening as Superman. I can imagine Superman monologuing against Mongol and somehow getting pissed off and throwing a punch at him. And that's where Mongol says, "Okay, I'm done playing nice," and just stops with the banter and tells it as it is.
Well, I could also see him just trying, or I could see Clark Kent trying to beg Kara as a fellow Kryptonian, maybe not fully aware that this is a member of his extended family, just to assist them, not necessarily jump in the fray, but just help them get off of Warworld and find freedom. To which Mongol just responds by slapping him around and saying there is no freedom, and that she is his prize, she's his belonging. And given the current status of Kara's life, she snaps a bit not because he called her a belonging, but because he has the misconception that he completely owns her. Or not completely or totally. Probably totally is the word I'm looking for. I mean, I hadn't quite worked out the details. I thought it was kind of funny that we discussed that Lobo would jump in because in Mongol showing off to Kent his control of the world and all the wealth he'd amassed, Kent's idea is to convince Lobo, look, you help me out and you can take whatever you want from his vault.
And I imagine his answer was to straight up attacking Mongol. He's that kind of a 80s badass, 90s badass.
I know. That would almost be a moment where he drops a cigar and just says, how much we talking? Or he just says, who is the master? And it just gets ugly from there. But
yeah, I would definitely imagine, even with help a little bit, that Mongol is just manhandling all of them.
Yeah, I thought the the best ending for it, though, would be not the sudden betrayal, but just brutal betrayal by Kara of Mongol. I mean, I pictured it as just something sudden and complete. You know, she punches him in the back, probably uses what heat vision she has on his Achilles tendons, just brings him to his knees, wraps her arms around his neck. So Mongol finds himself in the same position that Zod was in at the end of Man of Steel.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I have one better. Those restraining devices?
Yeah.
He gets hit with it. as a way to help subdue him.
That would be cruel.
She just hits him with that, and then because he's weakened, now her powers work on him. Because, you know, she's been charging all this time. She's got more power than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to go... my idea for the finalization was almost an homage to Man of Steel and the controversy around the ending when Superman killed Zod, because when she has her arms around his neck, you know, Clark flashes back to the moment where his life changed a little bit when he had to kill Zod. When he had to make that decision to take a life, and he tries to talk Kara into not doing it and how much it may change her and how much she may regret it. And then at the end, again, aping Man of Steel, her eyes dart between Clark and the side of Mongol's head, and she just says, "No," and snaps his neck anyway. You know, like when Henry Cavill had to scream "no" before he just pulled Zod's neck to the side.
Actually, considering was she made to fight?
What?
Was Kara made to fight when Mongol picked her up?
Possibly initially, but I don't think it'd be for too long. It would be one of those, I guess, unwritten implications that her captivity wasn't entirely amicable. You know, I imagine it would start with a little bit of physical, potentially sexual abuse.
Yeah, you could... All right.
Look, like I said, I was trying to fit this into the current DC narrative, and we all know Zack Snyder is very bizarre. Why? Where are you going with this?
Oh, no, I was just saying, you know, if she was made to fight, then she probably would have... This wouldn't have been her first kill.
Wouldn't have. But you also have, you know, Clark Kent, the ultimate Boy Scout, trying to convince her that this is not needed. You know, they can defeat him, restrain him, whatever, but she doesn't need to kill him. And she would disagree. Because to me, that would be the great change of this character compared to most other versions of it, is that she is not just willing to take a life, but fully capable of doing so. And that was the other reason I thought of an ending in this format, was that you introduce another character who's a wild X-factor in Clark Kent's life going forward in the DC cinematic. Somebody probably stronger than he is at this point, with the attitude of a long-term, or not attitude, the demeanor of a long-term victim, and has no interest in saving other people right now. Not to mention she has the ability to do whatever she wants. The best he could probably do is convince her to at least go to a habited world so she's not just alone in the starways. So, I mean, obviously a lot of it is open to interpretation, and again, I'm not a full screenwriter, but this felt like a really, to me at least, interesting idea for a potential Man of Steel sequel. And it has a lot of possibility, not just to introduce characters, but take things in ways that not even the comics have really explored to this point. And look, we used Kryptonite once. So
we
that
used
almost
it
feels...
once?
Huh?
When did we use it?
I said we didn't use Kryptonite once.
Oh, right, okay.
So that felt like a victory in and of itself. I mean, I don't know, do you guys think this would sound like an interesting movie, or is this kind of a skippable item?
Oh, I mean, it works.
I think the bits with Superman may not be the most interesting storytelling, but the bits with Kara would be great.
Yeah, and that was the other interesting part, was that not only did it leave it open for Kara to be a potential villain, but obviously you have the potential for her redemption further on in the DCU.
I can imagine some interaction with Wonder Woman if that actually is successful.
Well, actually, if written right, the character of Kara in this version could become, you know, DC's version of the Black Widow. Not necessarily a starring character, but a recurring character in a lot of strong supporting roles throughout the DC universe. Then eventually a movie, if the CEOs could ever get around to it, frickin' Ike Perlmutter. But it was also kind of a tying thread to, I guess in that format, as Jesse put it could be a tying thread to the solo films in DC. I always thought the Michael Turner version, well, he did the art anyway, when Kara was recently discovered on Earth and she had to train with Amazons, I'm like, wow, that's throwing gas on a fire right there. A Kryptonian that's Amazon trained? You might as well just surrender right now. But thanks for at least rolling along with this. I know it's kind of difficult as a concept, but I just felt like it could have been I felt that it could have been interesting to just kick around this idea a little more and actually flesh out the bits in between the major points.
Mm.
I think this has gone on long enough, though.
Yeah.
Although I may submit this to Kevin Smith soon in written form just because. He wouldn't direct it, but dude, it'd be fun to see what his writing would come out of this. Although, then again, it'd probably be a whole lot of dick jokes and Silent Bob would show up on Warworld.
No, he could write all the lines for Lobo.
Also starring as. All right. Did you guys have any series you wanted to read upcoming?
Actually, I was curious about the clone conspiracy.
Really? Because I went the complete other way because you were interested in the Long Halloween.
Oh, right.
The Batman storyline?
Yeah.
Yeah, I managed to get my hands on a few copies of that.
Oh, sweet.
So if you were interested, we could check that out and see if it lives up to the hype we read in that story.
Hell yeah.
All right. Okay, so next week it is Batman The Long Halloween. Thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. Everybody have fun this long President's Day weekend. Well, at least those of us in the U.S. The rest of the world, I'm sure it doesn't matter as much. Have a great one. Just do what you can to be kinder people. It is way too easy to be snide and angry all the damn time these days. But then again, I'm on the internet a lot, so that's all I see. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive. Take care, everybody. Watch, Warner Brothers has been listening the whole time, and they're just writing things down.
You're welcome.